Don't tell me that. Do not tell me that that's what's going on.
You go see PC Weekend. Hey, chill. Can knock down a 3, make a layup to save his life.
Come on,
Steve Novak. What do you need to make a layup for? You can make a 3.
I don't know.
Three's more than 2.
Am I crazy or did I hear that Ox could play in the 90s yesterday?
Oh yeah, you heard that. You heard that. I respect Big Ox, man. Stretch forward.
Why can't he play in the 90s? Pin?
Respect Sean Kemp, bro.
Facts.
Like, where is this stuff about Biggs didn't move like Ox in the 90s? I'm like, that's flagrant.
You don't know how Ox be moving. That's why.
That's true. Exactly. I watched one track. He was running on the track doing some rehab. I was like, big guy can move, but it's not Sean Kemp.
He don't need to be. He could get. You don't think he could get on a roster? You don't think he can move better than the worst player in the 90s?
We're gonna be talking about some of those worst players today, aren't we?
W segue. Are we gonna be talking about some of the worst players in NBA history?
It depends on how you guys define worst players.
Trash, doo-doo.
Garbage.
Anthony.
It's completely and utterly ineffective.
Bennett, Anthony.
Oh, he underrated, but it's cool.
Who's Anthony underrated? Bennett's underrated? Is that
yes.
a take
Yes.
In what aspect?
What? Because he's deemed the worst NBA player ever. I don't think he's the worst NBA player ever. So therefore, is he underrated?
Well, wait a minute, Mars. Is he the worst NBA player ever, or is he deemed the worst first overall pick?
No, he's deemed both, but he's been called the worst NBA player ever. He's not, so he's underrated.
I don't know if I ever heard him being the worst NBA.
Dion said it last week.
I mean, Mars, you are onto something. Dion is the favorite in the PCL for a reason because he speaks facts.
I'm just saying, I think if you think Anthony Bennett is the worst player ever, I think he's underrated. Now, see, underrated doesn't mean good. I can think someone's underrated and still be trash. Same way I can think someone's overrated and they're still really good. I just think people acknowledge Anthony Bennett is really bad and then just go too far. Like, I don't think he's the worst player ever to play in the NBA.
Is he worse than Killian Hayes?
Yes.
Killian Hayes can
That's
bring
pretty
something
bad, though, right?
Yeah,
that's
Killian Hayes brings something. Killian Hayes is a competitive defender. He's a solid passer. Anthony Bennett was a negative in all aspects of basketball.
I want zero Kwame Brown slander today. Zero.
Was Anthony Bennett better than Jerome James?
No. Yo, chill. We were in this episode now.
Is Anthony okay? I'm gonna ask.
No.
We were
in this episode.
I'm gonna ask Ron a good question.
Ron's in Seattle right now, so
that's
what I was gonna say. Ron, is Anthony Bennett worse than Robert Swift?
No.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's the worst player ever. Is my point. That's what I'm saying. Because Robert Swift comes to mind.
He's worse. He's not worse than Jan Vesely NBA version, but then Europe version of Jan Vesely is pretty great.
Well, I don't think Jan Vesely was that bad, to be honest.
College Anthony Bennett was pretty good.
He was good.
How am I supposed to host today?
Focus.
How am I supposed to host?
End of the day, I'm just standing on the fact that I think he's underrated. That's what I'm saying. I think he's underrated.
And underrated in the aspect that he's not the worst player.
Yes, he's not the worst player ever. That's all I'm saying.
There's plenty of players who've come through the NBA, and you're saying that of all the over 5,000, 6,000 players that have come through the NBA, Anthony Bennett is not at the bottom of the list. He's the last guy on the list of all the players.
If I built a time machine and I put Anthony Bennett in the 50s, he would not be a starter. He's pretty bad.
I don't know.
But he would be the worst player in the league.
He wouldn't be the worst player in the league in the 50s.
He's not the worst.
Because we're shooting on peach baskets, bro.
Which means he's not the worst player of all time.
But speaking of busts, I wanted to ask a question. What makes a player a bust? I think that's a
good question.
What makes someone a bust? When you think this guy is a bust, what criteria do they have to hit for you to be like, that guy is a bust?
So if you're the number one overall pick in the draft, and I know a lot of you guys talk about, you know, what the expectations are, they differ with different number one overall picks. But if you're the number one overall pick in the draft, you are arguably the best player in this draft. You're the best player available in this draft. And if you are the best player available in this draft, you have to be a positive in a bunch of different areas. You have to be able to sustain that positivity. You can't just be a guy who shows up and you're average. You can't just be a guy who shows up and you're below average. Even if you play a long time, for example, Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown played 15 years Is Kwame Brown a bust for the level of expectation that we expected for the number 1 overall pick? When at that time we were still in the big man league, we were making the transition. There was an expectation of him coming right out of high school to be an awesome player, and he wasn't. He didn't understand the game. He wasn't as physical as many people thought that he was going to be. His skill level wasn't as good. So if you're going to be the number 1 overall pick, or depending on where you're picked, you have to show some positivity in when you play in the NBA. You have to show that. And if you don't, I think you're more of a bust than you are a what if. Because if you don't play, you're more of a what if than a bust.
Pen.
I mean, there's different ways to look at this. First of all, these players are not picking themselves, right? They're not picking themselves, number 1, number 2. Someone made a mistake, and you're the one who's going to have to suffer for it. Also, draft classes are not made equal, right? Not every class is going to have a Wembanyama or Shaquille O'Neal, etc. And then there's the health factor. So I look at a player like Sam Bowie as a number 2 overall pick, and I look at a player like Anthony Bennett, and I'm like, okay, Sam Bowie was good, but he was unhealthy. Greg Oden was good, but he was unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Bennett was just bad throughout. Like, he was just terrible. Michael Olowokandi never surfaced as a competent starting center ever. It wasn't just injuries, just the dude was just bad. So, you know, it's tough. It's tough for these kids because, you know, obviously when you're number 1 overall pick, you're going to be compared to all the other number 1 overall picks. Is it fair to compare Michael Olowokandi and Kwame Brown to Shaquille O'Neal just because they went number 1?
Yes.
No, it's not fair.
Sure,
I don't think it's fair to compare.
Because that's the mold that you're in as a big guy. That's when teams are drafting big guys. It's the same thing with Chris Washburn in '86. Chris Washburn coming out of North Carolina State. He was one of the best big men in the country. He came into the league. He had a drug problem. Him having a drug problem, he didn't pan out to be anything more than less than average. He was a bust. 100% he was a bust. When the team is picking number 1 overall, especially in a league that's predicated on what the game is at that time. So if we got a team picking today with the game is predicated on a 6'8", 6'9" swing man who's ridiculously athletic, great in transition, and can handle a basketball, like a Brandon Miller, for example. And Brandon Miller comes in and he's not very good. That's a bust.
Do you think the Hawks took Zachary Risachet expecting Kevin Durant? Just because he's the number 1 pick?
I don't think that they did that.
But
I do think
yeah, but tall wing, shooting.
I think that they took him, Mars, with the idea of building the unit around him. That's what I think that they took him.
Well, my problem is why does Stephen A. Smith say Kwame Brown? Why does Kwame Brown have to suffer for 15 years, 20 years? Why did his kids have to suffer for a mistake the Washington Wizards made? Like, why can't it be both ways? Like, he didn't pick himself number 1. And by the way, there was no consensus number 1 pick that year. Tyson Chandler could have gone number 1 that year.
Right.
Who told them to pass on Pau Gasol, who was clearly the best player in that draft? But it wasn't clear at that moment, right? And you weren't going to pick a Euro number 1 in 2001. That was just unconventional, unheard of, right? It made sense, but what is the sample size? Yeah, you're having 8-9 blocks a game, but it's in high school. It's against high school kids, and you are a physically dominant, very advanced, very physically advanced player in Kwame Brown. I bought the hype. I bought the Slam magazine. I remember the cover spread. I remember him. And I thought he was going to be really good. I think a lot of people thought Kwame was going to be really good. But until you see it against like real competition, how do you know what a player like Kobe coming out of high school, Lower Merion, is going to be? How do you know what Tracy McGrady is going to be? Kobe went 13th. Do it again, he goes number 1. T-Mac went number 9. Do it again, he goes number 1. So high school is hard. It's hard to make that judgment.
I feel like we're letting them off the hook, though, because you did decide to put your name in the draft, and I know that was predicated on what people were telling you. You're going to be the number 1.
Did you put your name in the draft, Joe?
I did put my name in the draft, yes.
So if someone picked you number 1,
if I was the number 1 overall pick in the 1996 draft,
would you magically become Michael
I
Jordan?
would be here for man. Chill going above AI.
I wouldn't have been. I don't know. I don't
Still
think
going above Kobe.
I wouldn't have been as good as all of those guys. No, but
children ain't get the opportunity, man. Children ain't get the opportunity. That's the problem.
Would you have been a better NBA player than Kwame Brown?
I think I would have been. Yes, I do.
Confidence. I like it.
Yes, I
like
do.
it.
I
like
think
it,
I would
like
have
it.
been.
I appreciate the confidence. You don't get this far without the confidence.
The
But
reason why I'm pushing back on your logic is because I do understand that, you know, it's up to the teams to do their homework on these guys. It is up to the teams to make sure that they're picking the right guy, because especially getting the number 1 overall pick or top 2 or top 3 pick wrong, that could set your franchise back years. So it's definitely up to the team to get it right when you're picking a guy. With that also being said, it's also up to you. You know what comes with being the number 1 overall pick. It's not like they're drafting you and, okay, this is a project. No, projects are, I think, guys that are later on in the draft. If you're the number 1 overall pick, especially at that time, we expect you to contribute immediately. We're not expecting you to contribute over the course of 6, 7, or 3 or 4 years. We're expecting you to contribute immediately, especially on that sort of team with the Washington Wizards. As bad as they were, you got an older Jordan, and you bring in Charles Oakley, who's going to mentor this kid. They expect him to compete early. They expect him to produce early, and he wasn't prepared for that. Sure, that's definitely the franchise's problem, because they didn't do enough homework on him, and looking back on it, they probably would have passed. But that's also me too, because I know whether or not I'm prepared for this sort of stage. I know whether or not if I'm good enough, if I can play at this level. If I don't think that I can play at this level, or if I'm not sure that I can play at this level, I'm going to make that clear.
Chill. How do you make that clear though? Because I don't think
By not entering the draft.
Well, we're gonna go through all. We're gonna go through all of these picks.
So put yourself in Zachary Rissache's shoes right now, right? He's 18 years old, 19 years old. He's a raw kid, you know, coming out of France, has a lot of physical development to go.
Sure.
He's nowhere near as NBA ready as some of the bigs that were taken behind him, like Zach Edey. Zach Edey probably contribute more on an NBA.
I don't know about that though, Penn. I don't know about that.
You think Zachary Rissache is going to have more of an immediate impact than Zach Edey?
He played in the top league in France, correct?
So,
yeah,
he looked very competent in that league.
Mm-hmm.
He showed the physical tools, being a 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". Wait, 6'10".
He showed he has the length.
Well, dude, I'm on record saying I would have picked him number 1. I'm not pushing back against that. I'm just saying, when you say that a number 1 pick can't be a project, well, that's how you get screwed with a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo going 15th, and now 14 teams look really stupid. It's not like Giannis was going to produce like a number 1 overall pick. If you had picked him number 1, he wouldn't have been a number 1 overall pick until year 3, and then you would have been like, oh, I see the vision. So, you know, if you're in that GM chair, you're picking number 1. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And what I'm trying to say is Trae Young did not choose to trade himself for Luka Doncic, but he has to wear that, that element of it. And it's like, it's a good thing that Trae Young ended up being a competent and very good player and an all-star player and got to a conference finals, because people can't really say it's like, oh, he's a bust, but he's not Luka Doncic, right? So it's tough, but projecting players is always hard, man.
But I mean, here's one thing that I think we all can agree on. You aren't taking a number 1 pick without believing that they are going to be your franchise cornerstone.
That's why you got them.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's
true. I think it's draft dependent. I don't think the Nets took Kenyon Martin thinking that's a franchise changer. Personally, I don't think the Hawks are taking Zachary Rissache thinking that's the one who's going to lead our franchise in the future. I think they got Jalen Johnson. They probably view him higher, and Trae Young is still their franchise guy. I think it's Wemby, franchise changer. Zion, franchise changer.
Okay, Mars.
I think it's draft dependent. I don't just think every draft is
totally
the number 1 guy.
It is.
The 2013
next year's draft.
Yeah, 2013 draft. I don't think they viewed Anthony Bennett as the one to change the franchise when they already had Kyrie.
So
I don't think they viewed Anthony Bennett.
But they did take Kyrie as a franchise changer, though, Mars.
Yes, because some drafts have franchise changes and some don't, and some drafts have multiple franchise changes. I think last year Portland viewed Scoot as a franchise changer. Charlotte viewed Brandon Miller as a franchise changer in combination with LaMelo. Wemby, of course. Like, I think that draft just had multiple franchise guys, and this last year's draft had none. I don't think Detroit viewed Ron Holland as a franchise changer. Now, he's a great number 5th pick, but I don't think they view him as the franchise changer. I think it's just dependent on the draft you're in, and then some teams draft guys for fit, and then it's all over the place. I don't think number 1 pick has the same value in every draft. Like, for example, if you could trade your number 1 pick, like let's say you knew your number 1 pick, your draft pick was the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
And you had the number 1 pick in the 23 draft and the 24 draft. The 23 number 1 pick would have more trade value than the 24 number one pick, because we know who was in that draft and we know who was in the 24 draft. Even though they're both number one picks, we understand which one would have more value. I don't think all number one picks are created equally and should be held to that same standard of franchise changing. If some drafts just don't have a franchise changing player, I think it's fine that not every draft has franchise changing players. And I think it's fine that some drafts might have 5 or 6. You might just luck into a franchise guy at the 6th pick because that's how deep the draft is. I think it's just circumstantial. So
now,
I just judge them with circumstantial.
I agree with that, but also too, so you gave a few exceptions. You threw out Anthony Bennett, you threw out a couple other guys too.
Kenyon Martin.
Yeah, so those are few and far between. Everybody else that we're about to get to on this list, I think teams wholeheartedly drafted this guy thinking that you are going to be our franchise player for the next 10 to 15 years. And rightfully so. When we go and talk about these guys, you were that exceptional in college. You passed the eye test, you put up the numbers, or your potential was just through the roof. Or in high school too. Some of these guys were high school. And so like I wholeheartedly believe that guys, for the most part, you got those few exceptions. And even then, I remember people losing their minds over Anthony Bennett. I remember people saying Anthony Bennett was going to be like that. We're looking. Yeah,
there was people, but there were people who were high on Anthony Bennett, but he still was like that was a draft that wasn't deemed as having a number one pick.
He was mocked to go 8th.
Yeah, I was gonna say 8th. Yeah,
8th to 10th on draft day.
He wasn't even the best player in the Mountain West. He wasn't the best player in the league. If we're talking about him being the number one overall pick in the draft, he wasn't even the best player in that conference. That's number one. But to go back to Mars's point about it, you being a franchise changer, when these teams draft players at number one, sure, it could be draft contingent, right? It could be who's in the draft that year. But when they're taking a guy, they're expecting this guy to elevate their crew on some level. Now, is it elevating their crew to the extent of Lajuan? Is it elevating their crew to the extent of Wemby or Shaquille O'Neal? No, not everybody is like that. But when the Detroit Pistons took Cade Cunningham, they expected him to elevate their franchise to another level, to change the course of their franchise, to change the direction of their franchise. When the Phoenix Suns took DeAndre Ayton, they expected him to take them to the next level. That's a franchise changer. Now, is he as good as Victor Wembanyama? Is he as good as Anthony Davis, who also New Orleans expected to go in a different direction when they drafted him? And they did. But are these guys all the same? No, they're not. But I do think that these franchises expect these number one overall picks to change the course of their franchise.
Yeah, but that's the marketing and that's the hype. And I don't really care about their expectations, bro.
You think that's
15 years ago, I DM'd Rihanna. I expected a reply. I did not get one. It's okay.
Well, she missed out. You weren't Pin, with all due respect, you weren't the number one overall pick. If you was the number one overall pick, you would have got a response.
I feel like DeAndre Ayton would have struck out too. But my point is, like, look, this is a marketing thing, right? Every team that has a number one overall pick, every one of them is a bad team. Unless they traded for it, most likely they're a very bad team. They got to sell their fan base on hope. They got to get ticket seats. They got to get jersey sales, right? They got to get season ticket renewals. This is a marketing ploy. The number one overall pick is always a marketing tool until, we see the player and then they preach patience. And then, a couple years later, they're a bust. And that's just the cycle. And it's unfortunate that we don't talk enough about relative draft classes, because when you're saying that Anthony Bennett, Ron, when you're saying Anthony Bennett and Kwame Brown and, Kenyon Martin are the exception. No, they are not the exception. Shaquille O'Neal and Wembanyama are the exception. Those are the guys that come along once every 8 years, once every 7 years. The average number one overall pick is not a superstar. Go through history. LeBron, Wemby, these are average. These are not average. These are absolute astronomical exceptions, right?
Can't miss guys.
Yeah, and that's not normal. But don't. I'm not going to shit on Charlotte or Washington for marketing one of their number one overall picks like they are the next one, because that's how you sell tickets. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nah, definitely. Also, let's go ahead and get into this list. We are going to rank every pick from the year 2000. So every pick of this century. But I do want to go back and show some love to all the number one draft picks. So I'm gonna mention these guys, and this list starts at 1947. I'm gonna mention these guys. If you guys know something about these guys, let me know. Hey, Mars, let's get into history. Mars, you a 30s guy.
We about to start listing off Chuck Share and them. Okay.
What's wrong with him?
Go
So
ahead.
the Pittsburgh Ironmen drafted Clifton McNeely in 1947. The Providence Steamrollers drafted Andy Tonkovich. And then the very next year, Providence was trash as well, and the Steamrollers drafted Howie Shannon. Then the
So I
Boston
guess
Celtics.
Andy Tonkovich wasn't a franchise changer, I guess.
No, he wasn't. Sorry.
He came out of Marshall. Shout out Andy. And then the Boston Celtics drafted Charlie Scher in 1950.
That's my guy, Chuck Share, man. That's my guy.
Baltimore Bullets in 1951 drafted Gene Melchore from Bradley. Then in 1952, the Milwaukee Hawks drafted Mark Workman. Next year, the Baltimore Bullets drafted Ray Felix. Then it was Frank Selvey. Next year, it was Dick Ricketts. The next year, it was Hugo Green.
Cy Green, Ron.
Cy Green.
Mm-hmm.
He was nice, chill.
Yeah, he can play.
Yeah, Chill was there courtside.
And he averaged 11 and 5 over his career.
I was there when Cy Green had his career high at 29. I was there.
I was not there.
Bro, Mars swears like there's a picture of Chill right behind James Naismith when he was inventing basketball.
I was right there.
He helped
I was helping him put the peach basket up. If you let Mars tell it,
he was right there. When Cy Green had 29, I remember I was 18 years old. Like,
all right, and then next, Rod Hundley.
Hot Rod Hundley.
Hot Rod, he was nice.
Hot Rod Hundley, yes, sir.
He was an All-Star that year, or All-NBA. So shout out to Rod Hundley as a rookie. He was All-NBA or All-Star. And then the next year,
the play-by-play guy for the Jazz, that's Hot Rod Hundley. He's dead now, by the way. But anyway, keep going.
R.I.P. Rod. Next, we have an NBA legend with the Minneapolis Lakers, 1958. We got a guess for this?
Elgin Baylor.
Absolutely.
Not gas. Yeah, it's not gas, but yeah.
Okay. Shout out Elgin Baylor. Came out of Seattle U, and as a rookie, averaged 24 and 15. God damn. 25 and 15, averaged 24.9. Shout out Elgin Baylor. Next, Cincinnati Royals, Bob Boozer. He was also an All-Star or All-NBA his rookie year. And it continues to get to, along this trend, I guess, from Rod Hundley to these next two guys I'm going to mention. We got some rich number one draft picks. In 1960, the Cincinnati Royals.
Oscar Robertson.
Yep. Cincinnati Royals had back-to-back number one overall picks. In 1959, they drafted Bob Boozer. And in 1960, they drafted the Big O out of Cincinnati. So, hey, that's crazy. From Cincinnati, getting drafted to Cincinnati.
That's how it worked, Ron. Because you got first selection on players within your region, which is why, guys, the draft was quote unquote rigged a lot of the time because you could get guys to go to a college within your region so that you would have first dibs on them, and then you could get who you wanted in the NBA draft, and you can monopolize the league in that way. So yes, coincidence, I guess.
Thank you for the history lesson, Mars. Appreciate that. I
was there next to Chill when it was happening. I was there next to Chill.
Right there. Right there.
You shouldn't have told him. You should have just watched him lose his mind for the next decade as guys just kept getting drafted to their own cities.
This guy went to college in LA.
He went to Detroit Mercy and he got just drafted in Detroit. That's amazing.
What the hell going on?
I was about to go crazy. I promise you, I was gonna be like, yo, what the hell is the coincidence? But shout out to the Cincinnati Royals getting Oscar Robertson to go to Cincinnati University. And obviously we know who the Big O is. He came in as a rookie, averaging 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. 9.7 assists.
Bum.
He was the best player in the country that year, too, by the way.
He's all right.
The very next year, and this is crazy, this is the team name, the Chicago Packers At center from Indiana, drafted Walt Bellamy, who also was a Hall of Famer. 4-time All-NBA. He came in as a rookie and averaged 31, 19 and 3 assists.
He was more. Walt Bellamy was more. He had a Chris Bosh build. He was more like the modern day Chris Bosh, like what Chris Bosh is, like that thin frame, could knock down a mid range shot, was really good in transition, could get on the glass. Yeah, he could definitely go.
Shout out Walt Bellamy. And shout out the Green Bay Packers as well as the Chicago Packers. And then, ironically, they changed their name the very next year to, I didn't even know this was ever a team name, and I'm about to butcher it. The Chicago Zephyrs. Are we hip on this?
Close
In 1962, the Chicago Zephyrs. Did you guys know that this team existed?
I mean,
Do we know that this was a thing?
I believe they're now the Washington Wizards. I believe. So
Chill Pin.
Chill helped change the name.
It's the Zephyrs.
I was actually in the board meeting when we.
Chill was like, you know what name would be dope?
I'm pretty sure it's Zephyrs.
What the hell is a Zephyr?
Chill.
I don't know, but it's a Red Hot Chili Peppers song.
I thought you was gonna say a Red Hot Chick, but all right.
Nope.
Shout out to the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
It has to do with water.
Water.
Yeah.
Chill was inspired by water on that.
Oh, that's why Pirate and Meatfish knows what it is.
Pirate was there too.
Pirate and Chill were rock paper scissoring for who gets to be the GM.
Zephyr is a gentle, soft, a soft, gentle breeze.
Soft, gentle breeze.
This is the worst name of an NBA team ever.
Chill, I'm not gonna lie, you should have come up with something better than that.
Trash.
The Chicago Gentle Breezes.
No.
So hold on. So the Zephyrs in 1962 drafted Bill McGill, but they took him out of Utah. So you get first dibs on players from your region, but you can go to another region and grab somebody else
if you wanted to. If they weren't.
Okay.
It was a complicated thing.
Got you. Okay, well, shout out Bill McGill. He was drafted as a rookie, or drafted to the Chicago Zephyrs from Utah. So shout out to him. Next year, the New York Knickerbockers in 1963 drafted Art Heyman. Then the New York Knicks the following year drafted Jim Barnes. Next year, the San Francisco Warriors drafted Fred Hetzel. Then the next year, the New York Knicks also had a #1 overall pick, and they got Cassie Russell.
Cassie could play. Yes, he was. Cassie was really that dude.
Ended up he was an all-star that year.
If I remember correctly, Fred Hetzel is still Davidson's highest ever draft pick, because I think when Steph Curry got drafted, they spoke about him because both went to Davidson. I think.
You're definitely right. It's been, I would assume it hasn't been a top 6 pick other than Fred. Well, it wasn't a #1 overall pick. So yeah, it would have to be Fred out of Davidson.
Shout out to Fred Hetzel, man.
Damn. Davidson's best player ever. Just when you
Has
thought
to be.
Steph Curry was the GOAT.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, how you the best? Man, Steph Curry's so trash.
Garbage. Get him out. Get Curry out of here.
Not even the best player out of Davidson. Crazy.
1967, the Detroit Pistons got Jimmy Walker.
Jalen Murray's dad.
Jalen Murray's dad. Yep.
Jalen Murray's dad, yeah. Ron just learning so much today.
Yeah, Chad,
Ron, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's his father.
Oh, okay. How Jimmy was nice?
Best player in the country.
#1 pick. He better than his son, clearly.
Yeah, he was
2-time All-Star.
What? No, but like seriously though, was he better than his son? Yeah,
he was the best player in the country.
No,
He was
I'm
not
talking
better
about
than
as a
his
pro.
son. No.
Oh, as a pro, no.
Jalen Rose was better.
How many
By
All-Star
far.
teams Jalen Rose make?
0.
I don't care. Jalen Rose is better.
Don't make me go to that.
Oh no,
board.
Jimmy.
I
Don't start with the vault, Mars. Don't do the vault.
I'm looking out as we speak.
Don't start the vault, Mars. Don't do that.
I gotta look.
There ain't no way.
Oh,
you
they
think
ain't
Jimmy
trapped
Walker
Vault
is
early
better
on
than
in Jimmy
Jalen
Walker's
Rose.
career. They ain't trapped Vault early
No
on.
trap. No.
So yeah, so Penn lucky. I can't get to the Vault right now. He lucky.
It
He
doesn't
can
matter
score
about
though.
the
Jimmy
VOR.
Walker could score with the best of them.
Look
he
at their
was
per
running-
100 possessions and tell me who is better. Come on, man. No,
Man, one was a
Jalen
third,
Rose is better.
one was a 13th pick for a reason. One was a 13th pick.
No, don't do that. You're better than that.
the
Devin Booker was.
numbers
Hold on. You know who else was a 13th overall pick? Mars. Spider Mitchell. You know who else was a 13th overall
but
pick?
they made All-Star
Devin
games.
Booker. You know who else was a 13th overall
They
pick?
made
Kobe
All-Star
Bean
games.
Bryant. Come on, man.
They made
Respect
All-Star
the
games.
13th overall.
They made
Well,
All-Star
I don't
games.
care about All-Stars.
Jalen Rose, a regular schmegular 13th pick.
Well, Pin,
Jalen
also
Rose was
bringing up
easily
Kobe,
a top 50 player in his prime for a large chunk of his prime.
And Jimmy
Okay,
Walker
he was a
number
really
one
good
overall
player.
pick.
Like those Indiana teams, come on, man. Fab
Jimmy
Five.
Walker was the number one overall pick.
And
I
Jimmy
don't
Walker-
care. He wasn't the best player in his draft class at all.
It was the number one overall pick. So you know what I'm saying?
He just
I
trolling
respect
right
number one
now.
picks.
I appreciate it.
I'm
But
sorry that I respect
so-
number one
so-
overall
so-
picks.
I do too.
Exactly.
I don't.
That matters. That matters.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care where you drafted. I care what you did with your career.
All right, so
He produced Jalen Rose. Okay. Yeah.
And then he
good.
abandoned Jalen Rose.
And that's what made him the hooper he is today. Those
So he
trials and
wasn't-
tribulations. Yeah.
So Jimmy Walker wasn't better than the Pearl. He wasn't better than Walt Frazier. Let's see. Was he better than Phil Jackson? Yes.
As a player,
Yes. I think he was better than Phil Jackson. I don't think he was better than Mel Daniels neither.
he for sure wasn't better than my Uncle Mel.
Yeah, he wasn't better than Mel Daniels neither.
I ain't never told y'all that.
Mhm.
who's the next pick, Ron? Who's the 1968 NBA draft?
What you want to talk about my uncle?
Mel Daniels is your uncle, Ron?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's dope.
Shout out to Uncle Mel,
Hey,
I guess.
ba-
Shout
ba-
out to
basketball
Uncle
runs deep in my family. And
Ron, how
Antonio,
is- I'm
Antonio,
sorry.
AD too.
hold on,
Antonio
hold on.
Daniels. That's my cousin.
Hold on, Ron.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Mars. Ron, how do we not know that Mel Daniels is your uncle? What the hell is going on?
We didn't know
That's
Shaq
a
was your
big ass
cousin
deal. What the hell?
until one day you just came on and was like, oh yeah, me and Shaq used to do this and this. And we was all sitting back like, you and Shaq, what?
First of
Oh,
all,
yeah,
y'all
that's my
found that
cousin.
out.
It was just one day chill was like, oh yeah, just brought it, just pulled a story just out of the clouds, Pin. Out of nowhere. Pin. Oh yeah, me and Shaq as a kid, we used to do this, and this. And then, like, to be honest, we really didn't take Chill serious because we're like, Chill, what
And
are
then
you
he
talking
pops
about?
up on the show, and it's like, okay, here we go. Now I got to explain this.
The
But anyway,
resume
Ron,
the resume is expanding. Founder of basketball, inventor of the sport, cutter of peach baskets, cousin of Shaquille O'Neal.
I
It's
contributed.
great.
I'm a contributor to the Peach Basket. That's what I am, according to Mars.
Dope.
I wasn't. If I'm in the Hall of Fame, which I should be, because I'm a contributor to
Facts.
basketball, I should be. I didn't exactly put the Peach Basket up, but I helped. How about that?
Better than Kwame Brown. Come on.
I'd
All
put you
right.
in the Hall of Fame, but
Anyway,
Yeah, but shout out to my Uncle Mel. Dude. Love you, Unc.
that's a big ass deal, and he just passed away not so long ago, neither.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. We had to, we had his funeral back in Detroit, so we had to go and do all of that whole thing. But shout out to Mel, though. Absolutely. All right, moving along. The next three picks are big deals because they're Hall of Famers.
so Jimmy Walker just wasn't a big deal.
Lou Alcindor.
In 1968, to the San Diego Rockets,
Mm-hmm.
we have Elvin Hayes out of Houston.
Top 10 power forward.
He played the
Facts.
5 in college, so he came into the league playing the 5, and then he got
He
moved.
was
over.
averaging like 50 in college.
Yes, he was.
That's crazy. Yo, that's crazy.
He outplayed Jabbar when they played them in the Astrodome. That was the first time a college basketball game was played in a football stadium. And
Let me guess, you was
Jabbar.
there? You was there?
I was not there, Mars.
No,
Unfortunately,
You ain't get the tickets for that one. Okay.
I was not around yet. No, I wasn't. He was in the same draft with Wes Unseld. Mm-hmm.
The worst MVP ever. Historic draft.
Mm-hmm.
Elvin, as a rookie, averaged 28 and 17.
Is it controversial
that-
if I say that Rasheed Wallace was better?
Then
Elvin
Elvin
Hayes?
Hayes. Yes, it is controversial for you to say.
I think it's
I
controversial.
Then I don't
I
care.
know
I'm-
somebody
I don't know if
that
it's
would
I don't know if
agree
it's
with you.
ridiculous. It might be controversial for you to say that, but I don't know if it's ridiculous to have a
Well,
conversation.
considering he
about it.
plays in the 70s, I'm sure you. I mean, I'm sure someone could say Kwame Brown better.
Rasheed was better.
We could have a conversation about Sheed and Elvin Hayes. I don't think that's ridiculous to have a conversation about the two.
No, I just think because Mar said he's a top 10 power forward all time. I'm like, Rasheed
Well, I
Wallace.
had him at 10 when I made the list.
Yeah,
Did I have him at 10
Pin,
or 9? I had him at 10. Yeah, I had him
well,
at 10.
factually, he's a top 10 power forward of all time because we did our player's choice top 10 power forwards list, and he was on the list.
And you missed Rasheed Wallace.
No, Ox had him on the list. Ox was the only one, though. But Ox did have him on the list.
Respect.
I wanted to put Sheed on that list so bad, but Sheed's not better than Chris Webber, and Chris Webber was 10 on my list. So
This is what this panel is one of like the most pro Rasheed Wallace panels probably on the internet, other than like wherever Rasheed Wallace himself maybe. Like
I don't know if it's this show more than it is Ron and Big Ox.
No, because like I'm high on Rasheed too. Now well, Ox more so. Like he just takes it to a level that I'm not willing to go to.
Mm-hmm.
But like this whole like everyone up here respects Rasheed and probably thinks he's better than the consensus does. And then Ox is just like Rasheed really the best player in the league if he played today.
Yes,
like, that's how far he goes
with him.
I'm like, I'm not with Ox on that.
Ron, but you laughing for? You don't help because
you
you egged this on, Ron. By the way,
I feel that same way about Sheed would be Carl Anthony Towns on steroids today. Literally, Carl Anthony Towns with a battery in his back. That would be Rasheed Wallace. Shoot the ball just as good, defend better, rebound better, get on the block.
Relax on just as good. He does not shoot the ball just as good.
You think Sheed is just as good as you think Sheed is just as good
as
a long ball shooter and a mid range shooter?
No, he's not. I love Rasheed Wallace, but no, he's not.
Here's the. I'm gonna put it like this: if Sheed had the green light and was just able to just stroke it the way that
he had the green light in Detroit, he did.
Not the green light in Detroit. But it's a different green light. It's a different green light. Like shoot it when you're open. But that's not come down and shoot the ball every single possession.
Okay,
Carl Anthony Towns can shoot any three, and coaches are going to yank them.
Carl Anthony Towns is shooting deep threes at like near 40%. Rasheed Wallace shot like 33% on his career.
Part of having a green light is because you can be trusted to make those shots.
We're not just giving you the green light, Mars, just off the strength that it's you.
Sheed was a total player, man. Like he was a great post defender. He was a great team defender. Individual, good help side defender, not a big time shot blocker, but that's the problem, right? We were measuring defense with block numbers, and Sheed was deflecting, deterring. He was just an anchor inside. Like he was a great post player, and like he was a guy who could actually guard guys in the post. Like he could really body you. He can get it. He did his work early. He was really smart. He was very selfless, great secondary, playmaker. He didn't rack up huge assists. Like he wasn't a numbers guy, right? Like I understand Weber's numbers were better. I understand, Elvin Hayes, like the raw numbers, 21-10 was better. But Sheed played on really stacked teams. He did nothing but win his entire career, right? And get technicals. He just won and got technicals. That's literally his entire career. So I don't know. I think he's underrated. I think in a different context, if he wanted to put up numbers, he could have done whatever he wanted. But that's not conducive to winning. And that's all he cared about.
I agree. See, Penn sounds logical. No, he shoots just as good as Cat.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Was there ever
but he's a better all-around player than
yes,
Cat.
He's better than Cat. Yes.
Was there ever a time when she was the best 4-man in the game?
No, because Duncan and KG existed.
But that's exactly it. Like he played with two of the best ever.
Weber existed.
I'd have the Chris Webber Rasheed conversation. I'd have that conversation.
I would too.
Would you have the Sheed Dirk conversation?
No.
Me neither. I'm not having that.
Not at their apex. If you want to say like 2000,
I'm talking about at their best. I'm talking
both
about
at their best. No, I'm not having
that.
Both
neither.
at their best, no.
But you can't do that with Chris Webber either, though. Chris Webber at his Chris Webber at his best was a monster.
So was Rasheed.
No, he was. But
I'm just saying I'd have the conversation. That's what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
I don't want to discount it. No, I'm not discounting who she was. Right.
But it also, what's the difference too is Chris Webber was a distinct number one option.
Right.
So Chris Webber got to get, you know how we're talking about green light. We got to see Chris Webber unleashed. Rasheed, it was more so.
And why weren't we? And since we're on that subject, Ron, why weren't we? Because just so you know, he was the number 5 overall pick in the draft, which means that a unit is built. They're building a unit around him.
Yeah.
So why aren't we running the offense through Rasheed Wallace? Why doesn't Rasheed Wallace have the ultimate green light like Chris Webber, like Dirk Nowitzki? Why isn't Rasheed Wallace our franchise player like Dirk Nowitzki, like
He
Chris
was
Webber
the franchise player. He was the best player on that team. Like he was the best player on the Portland Trail Blazers team that had a Scottie Pippen, had a Damon
Was he?
Stoudemire. Yes.
What year?
2000.
2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. When was he not the best player?
he was
You
a
think Bonzi
detriment.
Wells was better than him? You think Detlef Schrempf was better? Who's better than him?
Bonzi apparently better than Draymond Green. So
Oh, no, he's not.
that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Well,
Bonzi-
hold on,
Bonzi
Pin.
crazy
Wait,
underrated, though.
Wait, Pin. Are you sure?
Oh my god.
Pin, are you sure?
We saying
Yeah.
Bonzi's better
That
than Draymond
Rasheed
Green?
Wallace is
I'm
better than
just saying-
those guys?
No, I
not
don't
doing
want
that.
low
No.
down to come
I
up
mean,
here.
your guy Arvidas
Kick
was
this
on the
door
team.
down. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
your
I don't
guy
want low
Arvidas was
down
on
to
the
come
team.
and
That's
kick
why
the
he's
screen
asking.
down.
Why?
He knows.
Who's going to be supporting?
What do you mean? Who's going to be supporting?
He's gonna be calling you a hypocrite for everything you said about Arvidas
Yeah.
and saying he wasn't the best player on the Blazers. That's what's happening.
Top
I'm
10
not
player
arguing.
all time? What?
I didn't say
Was
top
she
10,
was
top
she
15.
better was she better than Sabonis in 2000?
Yes.
I think so too. I
mean,
do.
this
I
is-
think he was the best
How
player on
old
that
was
Trailblazers team.
Arvidas at that point?
36.
36?
Mm-hmm.
No, like obviously prime for prime, Arvidas Sabonis much better. But Arvidas Sabonis came after 14 years of basketball. How many players do you know? What if Shaquille O'Neal had to play in the USSR for 14 years, and then we got to see 15th year to 19th year Shaquille O'Neal in the NBA? People be saying he was a bum too. You know, it's not a fair discussion. It's just not a fair discussion. But Rasheed Wallace, yes, a 25, 26-year-old Rasheed Wallace was the best player on the Portland Trail Blazers.
He was better than Smitty?
Yes.
Yes.
What?
Was
That's
he
a
better?
better time.
In the 99-2000 season when they played the Lakers in the Western Finals, Rasheed Wallace was the best player on that team. He was.
Was he better than Damon?
Yes.
You're naming people who were on the team, and everyone said that he was the best player.
But
on
hold
the
on,
team.
no, hold on,
Yes.
wait. Don't play Damon like that though.
Ron, he was better than Damon. He was better than Scotty. He was better than Bonzi. He was better than Steve Smith. He was better than Sabonis. He was better than Davis. I mean, I could keep going. He was the best player
He was
on
better
that
than
crew.
old man Detlef Schrempf. Like,
Yes,
how
he was
you
better
gonna
than
go,
all of
like-
them dudes. He
What-
was better than Gary Grant. He was better than all of them dudes. He was.
So chill and pin. Mars, you can sit this
Gary
one out
Grant.
because you're
Oh,
just a little too young for this.
Yeah,
one
too
right
young,
now.
too young. Yeah. Facts.
Chill and pin. At everybody on this team, not necessarily at their peak, but just in their prime. How good is this Portland team? You got
First of all,
Arvidas
they
Sabonis.
First of all,
unstoppable.
just that team in 2000, they should have beat the Lakers. They
Yes.
should have beaten the Lakers.
I mean, they
that
damn near
year.
did. They
Yeah,
damn near
They
did.
should have beaten the Lakers. We don't even have to go 27-year-old Sabonis, 25-year-old Rasheed Wallace, 26-year-old Steve Smith, 25-year-old Dale Davis. We don't have to do that. We could stay right where they are. They should have beaten the Lakers. They had enough to beat that Laker team.
Was
Jermaine
O'Neal still on that team in 2000?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
he
So he
was.
was there
He
down the bench.
wasn't playing for
And then the
him.
next year it was Dale Davis, who's also an incredible player. So yes, that team, that Portland team was, I mean, players of NBA 2K will know. The original NBA 2K. Who else?
Not like a all-star or big name player, but was a very good role player. My man Brian Grant.
Brian Grant
Yes,
was on that
one of
was a
my
great
favorite
Portland
players
team.
of all time.
That was a fantastic
God.
Portland team. Yes.
So now you understand why Rasheed Wallace's numbers don't look
Yeah,
necessarily as 25 and whatever. What he gonna score 20? Everyone had to eat on that team. Scotty had to eat. Damon Stoudemire had to eat. Everyone wanted the basketball, right? And you go that probably, honestly, it might go down as the deepest team, like not counting those Celtics, like dynasty type teams in the 80s. This might be like the deepest team I've seen since year 1999. That Portland team. I'm talking straight depth. Like, who is your eighth, ninth
That a
guy?
bomb
Your
squad.
eighth, ninth
They
guy
did.
was a starter.
I
Shout
could say
out
the same
Greg
thing about
Anthony and Stacey Ogman too. They were both
Yeah,
on
they
this
was on
team
that
as
too.
well.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right, y'all. We're gonna get back to the list. Before we do that, make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe to Player's Choice, and make sure you become a member. And shout out our Hall of Famers.
Mhm.
Let's get back into this list. As of right now, so I said we have 3 Hall of Famers coming up with the next 3 picks. We talked about Elvin Hayes.
Mhm.
Next, we quite literally have the best number 1 overall pick ever. In 1969, to the Milwaukee Bucks, we have a big 7-footer by the name of Lou Alcindor. His mama called him Lou.
You say
I'ma
best
call him
ever?
Lou.
Yeah,
I didn't stutter.
You know LeBron
Did
James is the number one overall pick, right?
Best ever, Lou Alcindor.
Think about what Jabbar did as a rook.
No, I get it.
What he was.
But LeBron didn't come out when he was a 4-year senior.
No, he wasn't.
He came out as a high schooler.
That does matter.
Do you know what Lou Alcindor would have did out of high school?
Not what he would have done.
Do you know what he did out of high school?
I respect Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You're not gonna sell me that he's better than LeBron James.
Do you So we're not buying when Lou Alcindor came into UCLA.
No, I get it. He was like easily one of the top 3 players in the league right away, and that's incredible. But LeBron James came out of high school in an increased media attention, had a much more. I think he had a lot of pressure on him, and he lived up to the hype.
Way more than we give him credit for. Way more.
Hold on, are we judging skill set in basketball and all of this on the court stuff based on pressure, or are we just talking about?
It matters, Ron, because you still have to produce that stuff. You still have to produce with that stuff. That stuff matters.
Had pressure too.
Yes, he did, and he produced with having that. Yes, he did.
I mean, obviously, like 1969 and the 60s weren't the same thing as obviously 2003. It's more media. Like even Victor Wembanyama has more pressure than LeBron James, just based on just.
No, he doesn't.
Why does he not?
The LeBron James hype, like it started when he was 13 years old.
16.
Right? I want to say like people knew who LeBron was when he was 13. 14,
I didn't know who he was until I saw him on Sports Illustrated at 16 years old.
It ramped up when he was 16. His games were on ESPN, bro. Like I understand Wembanyama's got a lot of hype, but if Wembanyama were to fail, like, and he won't, touch wood, the fallout of it would not be as intense as if LeBron had come out and just been an average player. Like LeBron deals with scrutiny to this day. And he's been to like what 11 finals, 10 finals, and it's like, oh, it's not enough. This is the most hyper scrutinized player in NBA history.
You don't think that's going to be the same case for Wembanyama?
You telling me if Wembanyama makes 10 finals, that we're not going to be considering it a monumental success? Of course we will.
We didn't have number 1 overall picks, by the way, Ron, in 2003 coming out of high school. That wasn't the case. I mean, Kwame Brown was the number 1 pick coming out of high school. He was a bust, but he ain't had a hype that James had coming out of high school. Like I didn't even know who Kwame Brown was until we got to around the draft. I didn't even know who he was. I didn't. I was not familiar with who Kwame Brown was until we got around the draft. When we actually got to the draft in 2003, we all knew exactly who James was from years past. We knew who he was. And we knew what
we've been knew about Wemby since he was 15. Well,
right,
most people. So,
but
I heard about him when
he also played. Wemby played in a professional league previous to that. I mean, the guy coming out of high school. I mean, I think that's completely different. You're playing against 9th and 10th graders. When I'm playing in a professional league, I'm playing against men, and I'm not even a man yet. I'm 17, 18 years old.
But hearing about it in America is different. Like, and this is once again now I might have to defer to you guys, but. How much did you guys in America hear about Luka when he was playing overseas for Real Madrid? But you heard about Wemby, right?
I did.
It's different, and that's not. Luka was better overseas than Wemby was in terms of actual playing, but it's different. The hype is different. The build-up is different. The anticipation is different. Wemby's the closest one in terms of hype I think we've had to LeBron. Zion would probably be 3rd in terms of that hierarchy. In terms
Zion wasn't even supposed to be a number 1 player.
Yeah, he was. No, but the hype was great. Like when he went to Duke. No, well, the hype.
Well, it didn't start
going viral. But he was the 3rd ranked player going to Duke. RJ and Cam were above him, and then he did what he did in college.
But
and then it was
what
like,
you just said though.
Yeah, in terms of his actual where he was
number
ranked,
1 player in that draft.
But I'm just talking about hype, not actual like how good they were. If that makes sense. Zion was hyped more than RJ Barrett was, even though RJ Barrett was ranked higher. And then he went to Duke, and then
was better too. By the way,
all these players are good in high school. Like Jalen Green your boy Jalen Green, I mean, people were really selling themselves like when he was 16, 17 years old that he was going to be next one, right?
Yeah,
Like he was the number one player in that draft until Cade took over at Montverde. So it's the same thing with this. When what I'm talking about with Wemby and Shaq and with LeBron is they didn't just come up on the scene. They didn't just have a hot season. It was like 2-3 years. They held their spot, right? And that pressure builds. The longer you are anointed the king of the hill at the top of that draft class, I think the more pressure you have to live up to. So I understand, you know, Lou Alcindor was the consensus #1 pick, Tim Duncan #1 pick, right? But that's not the same thing as Zion Williamson, in my opinion. Or
Well,
Blake Griffin.
Penn, I just want to let you know, like, if they were coming out of high school, hold on, wait, matter of fact, we can go. So now I'm gonna ask you guys this because I was gonna say Lou would have went #1 as a freshman. So chill, chill and Penn. I'm gonna ask you.
Well, he ain't play his freshman year because he
No, he didn't. He only played 3 years at UCLA.
He did it, but let's say he did because
the freshman team was destroying the
hearing everything that they said about Lou Alcindor as a senior in high school. That means that would have been what, the 66, 65 draft. Who the #1 pick was what?
Fred Hetzel. Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Davidson Legends. I think they're taking the 18-year-old Lou Alcindor.
Mm-hmm.
I think
they're probably taking Jabal. Sure.
Obviously, they have to look at it as the same lens as today, where you're taking young guys for the sake of, you know, building around them and potential and whatnot. Does he?
Yeah, Fred Hetzel averaged 26 and 15 in college. I didn't even know that. Shout out to him.
Does he go over Cassie Russell?
I'm about to start looking at the numbers they were putting up because I'm not gonna lie. Fred Hetzel putting up 26 and 15 is crazy.
No, he wouldn't. He would not have.
He would have went over Cassie Russell.
The reason why
the
reason why is Cassie Russell went to Michigan.
He was averaging 31.
Yeah.
But what was Kareem averaging as a sophomore?
Oh, so we're doing college. We're doing college Kareem not coming straight out of high school.
Well, no. Well, that year he was a sophomore. I mean, we can do high school.
Oh, okay.
That's his second
year.
Doing
sophomore Kareem. Okay, cool.
I think Jabal averaged something like 27 and like 17 something.
And a national championship, chill.
And he's played a year too.
As a sophomore, he averaged 29 and 15 on 67%.
I know it was something like that, like 27 and
18. Okay, I thought we were doing straight out of high school. I thought we were doing
we can do straight out of high school too, though. But I'm just saying during that year he would have been a sophomore.
If we're going straight out of high school, he's not going ahead of Elvin Hayes. He's not going ahead of Jimmy Walker. He's not going ahead of Cassie Russell. He's not going ahead of them dudes. No.
Okay.
Did you know there was a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar who played in college in 1996?
Yep, he went to Valparaiso. We played them in Hawaii.
Shout out to you. Shout out to him.
Sir.
You played him too.
Yeah,
he's everywhere. I'm telling you, he's everywhere.
We played him
against Kareem.
You mean to tell me you played the
fake against Kareem? He played Kareem.
In Hilo. It's the Hilo National Tournament in 1995-96. It was in Hawaii. We went to the tournament. It was us, University of Oregon. Minnesota was there. Bobby Jackson was on that crew. And Valparaiso, they had the kid that played for the Bulls, Bryce. He was a freshman, I think, at that point. Yeah, we played them. We beat them.
Shout out
Bryce
to
Drew is the player he's talking about. Bryce Drew, the one who went to the league. But yeah. Chills everywhere. Now this man played against Kareem. Like, what we doing?
I did not play against Jabal. Not that Jabal.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No, not that Jabal.
His name's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You played against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
You can say that you played against Kareem and you wouldn't be lying.
You ain't got to apply context.
You could say
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah, I played against him. We beat him too. That's what you got to say.
You could say you beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You could say that, and you wouldn't be lying.
You can say that, and you're not lying.
It's just fine print. You just put it in like 2 font at the bottom.
No, you ain't got to. You don't have to clarify that it wasn't the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar they're thinking of. It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I did play against Jabal. Not that Jabal, but I did play against Jabal. Yes, I did.
You played against Kobe Bean Bryant and Jabbar?
That's what it sounds
like. That's what I'm saying. Like, you see how expansive his basketball
is? And you played against Shaq too.
He's cousins with Shaq. He played once against Kobe.
He played with Shaq too.
Forget being better than Kwame Brown. He might be better than LeBron.
Chill, you not gonna lie. Chill, you and Shaq used to hoop?
Yes, we did.
You ever beat him?
No, I couldn't.
Beat him in a free throw contest.
We actually played the I think it was game 3 in 2010 against the Celtics. They were down like 18 and came back and beat them in Cleveland. And after the game, I mean, you would think that, you're chilling. No, we got to go downstairs and play 21. So We got to go down.
Shaq was making jumpers in 21.
We got to go downstairs and play 21. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hold on, but chill. Who else played? Hold on.
20. It was me. It was me, him. Let's see. It was me, him. It was Tony.
Tony who?
That was it. It was just me, him, and Tony. Mm-hmm.
Tony who?
The dude in Blue Chips. The dude that failed TV. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It was us three.
So I just want to clarify.
Here we
Shaw
go.
didn't beat Kobe. He didn't beat Shaq, but he did beat Kareem. So
Here we go.
Kareem is clearly the worst of the three.
Here we go.
Wait.
By logical deduction, that's how it has to
Not that
go.
Jabbar Mars.
Nah, that's enough for me. We done with the 70s, man. We done with the 70s. That's enough for me. That's enough for me. Kobe over Kareem confirmed. That's all I needed to hear.
Well, Lou Alcindor, aka Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was the number 1 overall pick in 1969, and he averaged 29, 14, and 4. Shout out to the GOAT. The very next year in 1970, what's up, Chill?
I didn't say anything.
The very next year in 1970, the Detroit Pistons drafted Bob Lanier.
Lanier Mars. I mean Ron. Not Lanier.
Bob Lanier.
Bob Lanier.
Shout out Bob Lanier, another Hall of Famer as well. Average 15 and 8 as a rookie. The next year in 1971, and that was 3 Hall of Famers, by the way, back to back to back. Elvin Hayes, Lou Alcindor, Bob Lanier. In 1971, the Cleveland Cavaliers drafted Austin Carr.
He's their play-by-play guy today, I think.
He came in and averaged 21. Shout out Austin out of Notre Dame. 1972, the Portland Trailblazers drafted LaRue Martin.
Arguably the worst number one pick ever.
You got a horse in that race?
Passed on Bob
Yes.
McAdoo. Yep.
Yes, but no one brings him up, but yes.
Passed on
Shout out
Bob.
LaRue.
They passed on Bob McAdoo. Passed on Doc. Mm-hmm.
Let's see what LaRue Martin put up in college.
Mm-hmm.
While you're looking that up, in 1973, the Philadelphia 76ers drafted a notable name in the basketball community. He goes by the name of Doug Collins. Shout out Doug.
He averaged 20 and 16 his senior year on 44% shooting.
Which was the going rate, I guess, at that time.
Yeah, when I looked at the other guys' numbers, like Fred Hetzel, he was 58% from the field in the 60s. So
Crazy.
I don't know. LaRue Martin might want to lock in. But number 1 overall pick. So shout out to him.
All right, here we go. In 74 and 75, we have back-to-back Hall of Famers. The Portland Trailblazers might have missed on LaRue Martin, but they didn't miss on this next pick in 1974. The Blazers got out of UCLA the next best thing since, well, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton.
Passed on Marvin Barnes.
Oh no.
Did they miss? Chill.
I don't think they missed, but they got what they needed from him for that little.
They got their
Bill
only
Walton,
championship. They're fine.
That's
They
what
got their only championship.
Bill Walton is more of a what if than he is a bust. He's definitely.
I don't think he's a bust. It's just is a what if, but I don't think he could be in a bust conversation. You can't be that good, even if it's that premature. You can't be that good and achieve what you achieved and be a bust, in my opinion.
And those and because I just think that there's more to be desired because he got hurt. That's why I think he's a what if.
Yes,
because
I agree. He's a what if. I agree.
In a 4-year span, I mean, he was the league MVP. They won the NBA championship. He was making an all-star team, so he was awesome. And then he broke down, and then it was never the same after that. So I got those 4 years out of him, which had me thinking, and we had that conversation about, would you rather take these 4 years from a guy as opposed to these 10 consecutive years from a guy? Which one would you rather? And would I take 4 years of Bill Walton, or would I take 12 years of Karl Malone? Which one would I rather? If I'm taking 12 years of Malone, I need to get lucky to win the NBA championship because that's what it takes. And then I'm getting more sustained success as opposed to a guy in Bill Walton who I got 4 years, but then I don't get anything else after that.
I remember Bill Walton won an MVP playing 58 games. Shout out to Bill Walton, man.
Oh, so
I mean, after he passed away, I looked a lot, into those years.
Oh, like he did just
76 to 78. I'm sorry, like I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he was not better than Kareem at any point. So winning an MVP is crazy, in my opinion.
No one said he was better than Kareem.
Well, the voters said he was better than Kareem because
the voters were the players. So be mad at the players.
Yes,
the voters were the other players in the league. So if we're gonna be mad at anyone,
yeah. What was the demographic of the league back then?
well, there was enough of them to give him 6. So we're not gonna like they just started hating on Kareem. Like,
well, they gave him 5. They gave him 5.
Oh yeah, the 80 was the median one.
When was that thing with Kareem punching that dude out?
75.
He was with the Lake. He was still with Milwaukee when that happened.
75.
Right.
I want to say.
Yeah, he broke his hand.
Shout out to GOAT. How many of y'all's GOATs be knocking people out on the court?
Because he won MVP the next year after that incident, so he was fine. And then he won it again in 77.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that year was the one year he didn't make All-Star, right?
78. Yeah, because he was hurt at some point in that season. I want to say early on because I think if I remember correctly, I might be wrong. 77 might have been the year that he punched someone, I think, and he got hurt and missed like 2 months, and that's why he didn't make the All-Star team because he missed the first 2 months of the season.
I think Jabbar was in Milwaukee when he did that. I don't think he was with the Lakers yet.
I think it was against Milwaukee, so I think that's what might be mixing it up because he punched Ken Benson, right?
Yeah, that's who it was.
And Ken Benson played for the Bucks, so it was probably the Lakers against the Bucks in 77. Now, Chill was there, man. He should know. But
there.
If my memory is remembering correctly, I think he got hurt day 1 of the NBA season. Missed like the first, yeah, because he punched Ken Benson.
He was with the Lakers. That's correct. Yes,
broke his hand. Missed the first.
It was against Milwaukee.
That's why he ain't made. Yeah. And that's why he made the All-Star team.
Yeah.
And he didn't win the MVP probably because of that. And then alongside Bill Walton being 48-10 in the games he played with the Blazers, coming off the championship. It was all written in the stars for him. But I don't think anyone said he was better than Kareem. Now, was he the second best player in the league? Maybe. Was he the third best player after Kareem and Dr. J? Probably. That's probably where he stood. Third best player in the NBA, undisputed top 3, maybe second. If you had the right demographic of people, maybe they would pick him first for obvious reasons. But generally speaking, top 3 player in the league. He was special, man. Just got hurt. It's unfortunate. And also shout out to Kareem. Can't punch correctly, so he breaks his hand. Not my good.
Mars. I'm gonna let that one slide. All right.
Well, Chill beat him, so I'm all right.
I'll let Chill slide too. But only reason why I let Chill stay up here after beating Kareem is because he lost to another GOAT. And another GOAT as well. So is it anybody else that you play one-on-one that we should know about?
No.
George Michael? Oh, okay. Never mind.
No.
All right, y'all. In 1975, the Atlanta Hawks drafted another Hall of Famer by the name of David Thompson.
And he went to the
Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, he went to the Denver Nuggets to get that bread. They paid more, so he decided.
As you should, man. Go to the ABA, man. Go to the ABA. Good on you, man.
Yeah,
David Thompson came into the league. Well, hold on. So it says his rookie stats was 26, 6, and 4. Was that
ABA? ABA, yeah.
Wreck that ABA.
That was, and then they merged, and then he was on the Nuggets, and then he just regularly scheduled program at 26. Yep. That's what he did.
Shout out.
Before he got caught up in other stuff. Yeah.
In 1976, the Houston Rockets now draft John Lucas.
He wasn't a bust. He had a drug problem, and that kind of derailed his career. He could have been a lot better than what he was, but that was during that time in the 70s where drugs were running rampant in the NBA, and it kind of threw a monkey wrench in a lot of these guys' career. And John Lucas was one of those guys who he could have been a lot better than what he was, but drugs kind of derailed him. He played a long time though. He did do that.
14 years.
Yeah, he played a long time.
1977.
Ken Benson.
Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, they draft Kent Benson.
Most known for being Kareem's victim. No disrespect, but that's what he's most known for.
What do you mean Kareem's victim?
That's who he punched.
That's why Kareem punched him in the face. They were mixing it up, and he bowled Kareem in the ribs hard. And Jabbar was like, I don't know who you used to dealing with, but I'm not him.
His most
he was absolutely a bust.
He
His
messed
most
up my
notable
goal.
NBA contribution was being punched in the face by Kareem.
You see what I'm saying, y'all? If Kareem would have got that MVP and that championship that year and all that other stuff, because obviously his wrist was messed up and all of that good stuff, it was a lingering injury. He would undoubtedly be the GOAT. Undoubtedly, like he already is the GOAT, but it wouldn't be a case.
And Chill would have still be him.
Think about the other players picked in the lottery that year. Jack Sigma,
Shout
Oh, I can't believe they passed on Jackson.
Bernard King, right? Mark. Yep. They got
And
Johnson.
shout out Luke Sigma too, another Seattle guy.
Cedric Maxwell.
Shout out Sid. Speaking of, Jack Sigma, he's an NBA dad. We're gonna go into another NBA dad as well. 1978, the Portland Trailblazers draft Michael Thompson.
Yep. We're not gonna call him a bust, right?
Was he?
To be honest with you, he did underachieve though.
Relative to the players picked after him, yes. Relative to Mo Cheeks, relative to Larry Bird, relative to Michael Cooper, who was, like Michael Cooper was like the last pick in the draft. Or like, no, he was like the third. Was it like a third round? I think he was like a third rounder. Fourth rounder? Michael Cooper.
In the third round, they got him.
He was the 60th pick.
Yeah, they got him in the third round.
Shout out Coop. All right, 1979. We know who this guy is out of Michigan State. The Los Angeles Lakers with the number 1 overall pick select Irvin Magic Johnson.
He turned out all right. Yeah, he turned out okay.
He was cool.
He was good. He turned out to be all right.
Solid player. I wouldn't call him a bust. Yeah, I wouldn't call him a bust.
Shout out that Johnson. In 1980, the Golden State Warriors select Joe Barry Carroll.
Shout out to Red Auerbach for the biggest train robbery. Joe Barry Carroll, who he told everybody
you wouldn't trade Robert Parrish for him. You wouldn't trade Robert Parrish.
We told everybody that he wanted, even though he had a nickname of Joe Barry Carroll. It was really Joe Barely Cares. That was his nickname.
Damn.
Yeah, that was his nickname. Not everybody, but it was very much. And I think I told this to you, Miles, but it was very much the Jason Tatum, Markelle Fultz situation with Danny Ainge. That's where he learned it from. He told everybody that Markelle Fultz was his guy. Well, wait a minute. What's going on with this Markelle Fultz guy? What's really happening? Jason Tatum was his guy right from the beginning, but that's who he sold. So the same thing happened with Red Auerbach. He did the same exact thing with Joe Barry Carroll. He told everybody Joe Barry Carroll was his guy. It was really Kevin McHale. That was his guy right from the beginning. And in the process of Kevin McHale being his guy, hey, you know what? Since you taking Joe Barry, or since you taking this pick from us, this big guy over here, Parrish, you can have him too. Yeah. You could take him too. Absolutely, I'll take him off your hands. So I get I get Kevin McHale and Joe Barry and Robert Parrish for Joe Barry Carroll. Red Auerbach should have been charged with a felony for that.
Mark, would you entertain the debate of Kevin McHale and Rasheed Wallace?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, cool.
But I'm lower on McHale than everyone else up here. I had him at 9 on my list. Everyone else had him at like 6. So
I think I had him at 7.
And I'm very high on McHale. I was surprised that everyone had him.
I think I had him at 6 or 7, something like that.
Yeah, I'm high on him, but
he was by far the best player in that draft, though.
You guys are just higher on him than I am, I guess. Well, in terms of relative to the power forwards,
was nice,
ridiculous.
That was an awesome draft too, by the way. The 80 draft. That was a great draft. Darryl Duncanstein.
So the league would have been saved without Magic and Bird anyway.
Andrew Toney. We still got to have somebody.
would have been a great white hope.
We still have to market somebody.
Yeah, I mean, someone. McHale would have been. Yeah, McHale would have been the new great white hope.
We still got to market some people. So.
In 1981, the Dallas Mavericks select Mark Aguirre
over Isaiah Thomas.
Good pick.
In 1982, the Lakers, the next 4 picks to
James Worthy.
Yep, the next 5 out of 6 picks are all Hall of Famers.
Damn, so you're just going to disrespect that one pick who I knew you were talking about. That's crazy.
He wasn't a Hall of Famer. He was a good player, though. But in 1982, the Los Angeles Lakers select James Worthy from North Carolina.
Borderline top 10 small forward of all time.
I had him top 10. It was between him and Ralph Sampson as the best player in the country at that time. If Ralph would have put his name in the draft, if he would have came out early, he probably would have went number one.
He wasn't the best small forward picked in this draft.
He was better than Dominique that year. Yes, he was.
Oh, we're doing that again?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But hold on, though. We can walk down hypothetical lane right quick.
What if Neek went to the Lakers?
Oh boy.
I mean, Neek could be viewed a lot more
Showtime
favorably.
got a new wrinkle.
Neek could be viewed a lot more favorably all the time.
But we already know the consensus. What Doc said. Doc Rivers said the difference between James Worthy and Dominique Wilkins is James Worthy had Magic Johnson, Dominique had me.
But
Yeah,
I still think Worthy better, so I don't care.
I do too.
Okay, be that as it may. Magic Johnson throwing oops to Neek?
No, I don't.
What?
Oh no, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. I mean, he was throwing him to Byron Scott, so imagine throwing him to Dominique.
Well,
chill though. Chill. I know what you're about to do. We don't got to do this right now. Chill. Let's just talk about the human highlight reel. Playing with the human highlight reel.
It probably wouldn't have been fair, to be honest with you.
I'm talking about chill. We on the fast break. You got them two with Byron and Coop, and then when you slow it down, all right, Kareem, take care of us. When we get into the half court, all right, Kareem, take care of us. But we running though, all game.
And they running the stuff that they was running for James Worthy, the one-on stuff, the isolation stuff. They running that for Neek too. They're doing that for him too, where they're putting him, you know, with Kevin McHale getting switched on to, but Neek played the 4. That's the dip. Not Neek. I'm sorry. James Worthy played the 4. Neek played the 3. So that means that you got Magic, you have Magic, you have Scott at the 2, you got Neek at the 3. We still got to get a 4-man though. That's the problem.
You can run Neek at the 4, Coop at the 3. You can do that.
First rendition of small ball.
I don't know, man. We're talking about a guy who averaged 30 points per game, won a scoring championship, 9, I think, all-star team. Like
he averaged 28 a game for 9 straight years.
Yeah. Like, what are we talking about here?
Nothing. That's not.
Tore his Achilles and came back.
And averaged 30 when he came back.
Before KD, he was the gold standard of Achilles returns. And he did it 30 years ago. So credit where it's due. Yeah. Great player.
All right. In 1983, here we go, y'all.
That's another.
The second Hall of Famer taken in a row by the Houston Rockets. We have out of Virginia, Ralph Sampson.
He was consensus. He was the best player in the country. And
one of the more unique players.
Yes. He was definitely the best player in the country. And the draft wasn't, I mean, that was a good draft, but that was one of those drafts where it was a consensus who the best player in the country was. Like, it wasn't a question of, well, maybe it's this guy or it was arguably this guy. Ralph Sampson was the best player in the country. And it wasn't a question.
He came in the NBA and averaged a whopping 21 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Ralph.
It was a good player, man. I've like gone back and watched like those 80s Rockets, like particularly the finals run in 86. Ralph Sampson was just weird. I've seen him.
Because you've never seen him before,
He got worse.
Yeah, imagine watching a 7'4" guy with grainy footage, just moving up and down the court, and then he can handle it a little bit off the glass, and then he's getting dunks, and like he can make midi pull-ups and stuff. I'm like, I don't know what I'm watching right now, but it's really cool. Like Ralph Sampson was really like it was.
It's like watching remember them VCR tapes, Ron, where you had to fix the tracking. That's kind of what it is watching Ralph Sampson. Like, what is this? What am I watching right now? Because none of us had seen that before.
If you watched him in college, I think you saw like the best version of him. The first year, second year in the league was like I think the best of them. But after that, it was like it wasn't the same. He got worse every single year, like clockwork. Everything.
87 was when he started breaking down, like legit. That's when it got serious. But we got 2 or 3 years where like we saw this going this way. I mean, when they went to the finals in '86, he wasn't awesome.
Well, like
He was good, but he wasn't awesome.
Okay, like per 100 possessions, if you were to rate out his best scoring season, it was when he was a rookie. If you rate out his best block season, it was when he was a rookie. If you rate out his best rebounding season, well, apart from like a blip later in his career, it was when he was a rookie. That was like the best, in my opinion. Like the first 2 years were like the best it was. And then you started, like he was healthy. Year 3, he was still healthy. Year 4, that's when he started to break down. But I feel like there was something declining. It didn't look like, if you look at the career trajectory of a Michael Jordan or Hakeem Olajuwon or those guys, like there was a bump up year 2, year 3, year 4. There was like an ascent, and you didn't see that with Ralph Sampson.
Hey, if Ralph Sampson, let's say he has a 14-year career, so he was drafted in
Healthy?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
relatively healthy for what you would expect over a 14-year span.
That's why I worry about guys like Wemby. I do.
It's not the same thing.
How
no
many
one
rings does
does
Kareem
that.
have?
Kareem
14. Yeah, Hakeem. And Kareem too, I guess. we could play that game as well. How many rings?
So you know, Mars, that Rocket team, they were also they were the 80s version of what was going on in the 70s. That's what ravaged them. They were dealing with guys like Ralph Sampson getting injured, not Rodney McRae, Lewis Lloyd, and they had drug problems on their crew. That's what derailed them. So if they could stay together, they had that Laker team number. They definitely had that Laker team number. So if Ralph Sampson could stay healthy, and they had gotten Olajuwon with Rodney McRae, who was an all-league defender, and Lewis Lloyd, they had a damn good team. A damn good team. I'm not sure if we're talking about the Lakers today the way we would talk about them. Because I think Olajuwon, I don't think that he would get, I don't think that to Penn's point, when you talk about Ralph Sampson going the other way, I think that was largely due to him starting to break down. He wasn't the player that he was. His knees were bothering him. It just got worse and worse as the years went on. So when he first came into the league, he wasn't that. He was healthy. That's why you saw what you saw. The ascension didn't continue because he started breaking down early. It was just at its worst in like 86, 87. That was the problem. It wasn't because of his skill set. It wasn't because of his game. It wasn't because Houston didn't run the offense the way that they should have, because the two twin towers of both Olajuwon and Sampson, defensively, they were awesome. They were fantastic. But
yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous. Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson on the front line. I know that sounds crazy. But the two of them together, it was working. And it was working just fine. It was just that Ralph Sampson started breaking down earlier than they expected him to.
Hey, in today's game, and it doesn't have to be the absolute equivalent, but in today's game, that'd be similar to what? Wemby and Anthony.
Don't say Wemby.
Cat and
you're talking that front line?
Yeah.
But Anthony Davis and Boogie, imagine them younger, and then Boogie starts breaking down.
Boogie did break down,
right?
But better on defense too. But yeah, that would be the closest.
Wait, are you comparing Boogie to Hakeem?
Not the other dude. But then he broke down. Not in terms of players, because I don't think Boogie was Ralph Sampson. No, I'm just a player comparison of the two guys. Like, I got two bigs. One of them is an awesome defensive player. Another one is another glass cleaner, but injuries slowed him down. And we really didn't get to see what he could have been with these two guys together had they stayed together for a long time. We didn't get to see that.
Just imagine Sengun and Steven Adams next season. That's what I imagine. Man.
That's gonna happen too, Mars. That's gonna happen. Just so we
clear. And it's gonna look like Hakeem and Ralph.
That's crazy. Oh, the Rockets. History comes back around.
Exactly.
Okay.
Repeat the cycle. Yeah.
Hey man, shout out history. Well, in 1983, the Houston Rockets drafted Ralph Sampson, and I think we all know in 1984 who the Houston Rockets also selected, a man by the name of Hakeem Olajuwon, who came in the NBA and averaged 20 and 12.
I will go to my grave, Mars. If Olajuwon's on the board and you pass, you fired on the spot. I don't mean over the course of your career where I got to watch you mess up other draft picks. You are fired on the spot. Hand over your keys. The lady at the reception, does she got your check? Get out. Go.
It takes a special type of player to be taken above Michael Jordan and it not get questions. It takes a special type of player to
What are you
be
doing?
that good. That even though everyone can acknowledge MJ was the better player, it doesn't get questioned that he wasn't the number one pick. It's like, yeah,
It should.
Is it one of those things? Is it? I think it's one of those things. To your point, where we get it. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's
Okay.
like
No, that's just it. It's based on a flawed conventional wisdom that you pick the bigger player. If all else is equal, you pick the bigger player. But if you watch Michael Jordan play, like there's plenty of precedents to say that he could have been like considered the much better player. And I don't think it's fair to say, oh well, we don't question it, so that it's not really a debate. There's a gap between these two players. It's a
In college?
substantial gap. No, not in college.
as players in general, yeah.
As players
sure.
in the NBA.
That part I won't argue. That part I won't argue. And now I want to. This is what I want to do, Penn. I want to take the being a big man out. Well, we have to add that, but I don't want to use that as much. But I want you to remember back when these guys were coming out of high school and coming out of college, and the big man was really prevalent, right? So if you look at what Olajuwon was doing coming out of college, this is who we're building our unit around. It's not just a big guy. We're talking about a dominant big guy. And he's just going to get better as time goes on. Who do I want to build my unit around? Do I want to build my unit around a 6'6", a 6'5", 6'6", 2 guard who, like, none of us knew he was going to be Air Jordan. None of us knew that. Or do I build my unit around Jabbar potentially? Do I build my unit around a guy who could possibly be Chamberlain good? Do I build my unit around him? Because that was the logic back then. It wasn't just Jordan was, even though Jordan was player of the year in college basketball that year, sure he was. But if you look at what Olajuwon did throughout the course of his career, not just in the NCAA tournament, but with the University of Houston, he was clearly in a lot of people's minds. It was a small few that thought that Jordan should have been the number 2 or the number 1 pick. The majority of the people thought if you pass on Olajuwon, you're fired. You can't pass on him. You can't.
It's just like, yeah, if you're in an era where centers are by far the best player, the most important, the thing that you need to win a championship is a center. And this precedent has been set by Kareem, it's been set by Wilt, it's been set by Bill Russell, then of course you're going to pick the guy that's closely linked to that. Sure. It's the same logic as picking a European player after Dirk Nowitzki thrives. My point is that how big a gap would you say, honestly, and I know you're very, very big, on Hakeem Olajuwon. How big a gap is there between Hakeem Olajuwon and Charles Barkley? How big? Because I would say the gap between Michael Jordan and Hakeem is bigger than the gap between Hakeem and Charles Barkley.
I disagree.
That's cool.
I won't.
I think Barkley is crazy underrated.
Well, here's the thing, Penn. When I think about Barkley, I think Barkley is more unique than any other player. I think we're more apt to see Olajuwon again, maybe in another 15, 20 years, than Barkley ever again. I don't think I'll ever see that kind of player again. But when we're talking about the gap between these two players, I think the gap between Jordan and Olajuwon, just from what they can produce, what Olajuwon does as a glass cleaner, as a defender, as an overall player, I think the gap between him and Jordan is closer than it is with him and Barkley, because I think he does far more than what Barkley did. Far more.
Yeah, Penn, I'm not gonna lie, like, this isn't even a conversation like that should be being had. I think it's easier to put Kareem in Jordan's tier than it is to put Hakeem in Jordan's tier than it is to put Charles Barkley in Hakeem's tier.
So where do you have Barkley all time? You're talking about him like he's a fringe top 75 guy.
No, we're not doing that. Nope.
I had him as the 7th best power forward. So,
but Penn, he's not a fringe top 5 guy. Which, if we were to do top 5,
Hakeem is a top 5 guy.
He's a fringe top 5 guy. Absolutely. Like, if we were to do our top 5s, and Penn, if you were to come up here and have Hakeem 5, I'd be like,
we actually doing that tomorrow.
Chill has him at 9, right? You have him at 9 all time, Hakeem. Cho.
Oh, we
Yeah,
are doing the
I do.
centers list tomorrow. Huh?
I think
Shit.
it's just.
I thought we were talking about the centers list when you said top
It's-
five.
Oh,
the
I mean,
champ-
the
it's
centers
the
list. Yeah,
championships, man. It's the championships. If you know, and a lot of that comes down to luck. A lot of it comes down
Yes,
to
it
luck.
does.
It comes
Not
down
in
to
Hakeem's case.
1 inch.
Not
Yes,
in
it does.
Hakeem's case.
Yes, it did, Ron.
No, okay,
100%
okay.
it
So
did.
chill.
I
chill,
mean,
you're right. You're right.
A
all
certain number
chips come
23
down to
playing-
luck.
pl-
Yeah, all chips come down to luck.
No, but
All of it.
Mars, he was favorable because one guy left the league. But he
I ain't
was
even on
also,
that.
he
I'm not
was
even on
also
that.
unfavorable because another guy left the league who we just talked about, who was drafted number 1 overall before him. So
Can
if Ralph Sampson stays, how many chips? And I asked you guys this, and I didn't get an answer. How many chips does Hakeem have?
I
Does
don't
he
know,
go
'cause
from
it's a lot of luck. That's what I'm saying. I don't.
Okay, first
For
of
me,
all,
the
went to the
Hakeem
finals together,
thing
you know?
for me, yeah, in '86. For me, the Hakeem thing is not about rings, whether he had 0 or 2. Like,
Well, yeah,
I
we
don't,
know
I
how you
don't, I,
feel,
yeah, I don't,
bro.
I don't rank from that.
Yeah.
I just think there's a large gap between Barkley and Hakeem. 0
do
rings. If Barkley had 2 and Hakeem had 0, I mean, I'd like to think I would feel the same way. I think Hakeem clears, but Barkley was great. I just
agree.
think Hakeem is clearly better.
I think you guys talk a lot about the fact that Jordan wasn't in the league during that time. I don't think that was the issue. I've said this to you guys, and Penn, I don't know if you've ever heard me say this, but in addition to it being luck, teams duck smoke all the time. And it's not a coincidence that in the 1993-94 season, who did Denver beat in the first round? Seattle. They own Houston. Goodbye. They own them. How about the next year? I'm sorry, Ron. How about the next year? Who did the Lakers beat in the playoffs? Seattle. They own Houston. The next year in 1996, the back-to-back NBA champion Houston Rockets. Who do they play in the semifinals? They play the Houston Rockets. Sweep them out the playoffs. Goodbye. Mop them right out the playoffs. And by the way, that's the 6th time in 8 years that they had beaten them in the playoffs. They own them. So the fact that they avoided them, you guys talk a lot about Jordan. No, they were able to avoid the Seattle Supersonics. So those championships, that's when you talk about luck. Those championships were, in some aspect, lucky because they were able to avoid the Seattle Supersonics.
You're right.
I mean, the
Absolutely right.
playoffs has always been matchup dependent. That's why I say. I mean, you guys hold these rings in such high regard. Like,
just
unless
saying,
you play every team in a series, like, are you really the best
for a
team?
sizable amount in the 90s? Honestly, I thought Charles Barkley was the second best player in the league. For a sizable, like 6-year gap in the 90s, I thought it was Jordan and then it was Barkley, and that's how I felt. I did not think I did not think Hakeem was the second best player behind Jordan.
He wasn't better than. I'll give you 93.
Okay, let's try a little pop quiz. No, it's just to put this on for size.
Sure.
Joe, who do you think was a better rebounder per 100 possessions between Charles Barkley and Hakeem Olajuwon?
We know this. Barkley was a better rebounder per 100 possessions in terms of numbers. Yeah.
So how does he clear? Their scoring stats are almost identical.
Because
Barkley was more efficient. Barkley was more efficient, and he scored just as much.
And one is one of the most egregious defenders I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
He's not one of the most egregious defenders. He wasn't a great defender. Fine.
He's one of the more egregious defenders I've ever seen.
We're still talking about two guys who both won MVP once. We're still talking about guys who are relatively even accolades minus the 2 rings. And I'm just saying, was
Charles ever the best player on the planet? Was that ever a
neither
legit
was
conversation?
Hakeem was never the best player on the planet.
MJ was still the best player. He was just playing baseball as well.
That's exactly it.
In 1995,
that's what he's about to say.
The best player in the NBA. The best active player in the NBA.
I was about to say,
let's
Ron,
not do that.
Let me rephrase that. Was Charles Barkley ever considered the best player in the NBA?
For me, he was the best player in the NBA.
When was he the best player in the game?
When Michael Jordan retired.
In 94.
I thought Barkley was the best player in the league that year.
I mean, he just said there was a 6-year stretch. He thought he was number 2, so I don't know why you had to surprise now.
Right. But
he thought he was number 2, and he's saying when MJ wasn't there, I thought he was number 1. That's the same thing as him saying he thought he was number 2.
He was still number 2, Boris. He was still number 2.
I'm just saying, honestly, we underrate guys who didn't win a ring. That's all I'm saying. We underrate guys who didn't win a ring.
Well, winning does matter when you're talking about being the best, though. Now you can play at that level, and I won't discount that, Penn. You can definitely play at that level, and that does matter. I won't discount that, and you do need a lot of luck in order to win NBA championships. However, what you produce within that luck also matters. So we're talking about Olajuwon at that time, who was elite as a rebounder, just like Barkley was. He was elite as a scorer in the playoffs, better than Barkley. He was a clearly better defender. clearly better defender than Charles Barkley was. In addition to him being clearly a better defender, don't leave out the fact that he went up against Barkley not once, went up against him twice. Barkley had him in the sleeper and let him up, and he choked Barkley out twice. I like to think that matters, because if we had that
He was
today,
a better offensive player than Charles Barkley. I'm sorry, he was a better offensive player than Hakeem Olajuwon by far.
I could get with Hakeem Barkley being a better offensive player.
He was better at pretty much everything. He was a better shooter. Okay. He was a more efficient post scorer. He was more dominant. I mean, we're not talking about a gap of we're not talking about a gap of well, how do you define dominant, man? Because if we're talking about two guys who average the exact same number of points per 100 possessions throughout their career, but one guy is shooting 7% better from two, I would consider the guy who's shooting 7% better way more dominant. Now you might say, well, you know, Hakeem was triple teamed and double teamed. Well, who told him not to pass? Number one, and number two, Charles Barkley wasn't getting single coverage in the post. They were throwing doubles and triples on him too. So I'm just saying, for a guy, you know, it's just a beef of mine that I think certain players get underrated because for one reason or another, like the media didn't like him or whatever. Barkley was
Charles
just
was
not
a media
like
darling. Let's kill that right now. Charles was a media darling. The media loved Charles.
Yeah, but now you got Shaq who clowns him every time he doesn't have a ring. Like,
well, that's who he is. He's the
I do think that stuff, but that stuff plays subconsciously.
And also, I just want to say, like, you know, the weight gain, right? The fact that, you know, when you gain weight and people kind of hold that against you, like, oh, you weren't professional, you had weight problems, you didn't weigh him properly, right? So I'm just saying, like, I think, like, at his peak, like the best version of Charles Barkley is like a top 10 player in the NBA. You say he didn't
all time.
Yes, the best version of him. Now you can say he didn't stay there long enough, he didn't win long enough, or whatever. But I'm saying, like, if I take every player in their prime and I do an all-time draft, the best version of Charles Barkley is a top 10 player of all time.
Barkley or Jokic?
Jokic.
Barkley or Steph?
Okay, top 15. Can we go top 15?
Yeah.
We go top 15. Okay.
There we go.
Jokic is crazy, but
top 10 is asking a lot. But the best version of Barkley, like you just said, in the post, like nobody would question whether or not Olajuwon was better on the box than Barkley. I don't think anybody would question that. Barkley was more brute force than he was anything else in the box. Olajuwon was more versatile on the box. He had more moves on the box. He could step out and knock down the 12 to 15 footer. Charles could shoot that too, but it was different with Olajuwon. Olajuwon could put the ball on the floor in the mid post, get to the rim, and he had different counters than Charles Barkley. That's just offensively as a scorer. I'm not just talking about overall offensively. He would get off the basketball, right? He would get off the basketball when he was in the post. He did know how to throw out of a double team. But when you're talking about getting the ball to a guy on the block, getting the ball to a guy in a one-on-one situation, whether it's in the mid post or in the mid range, Olajuwon was better than Barkley in that area. I think Charles. I'll give you the edge with Charles in transition with the ball. I'll give you the edge with him with the ball because I think Charles was better with the ball in transition because Charles was faster. But Olajuwon was a deer as he ran, and I think the separator is on defense. I don't think it's close.
The defense is not close. I'll give you that, but I want to say the offense is not close either. Right.
Think so,
and you bringing up counters and you know he had more of a bag. Well, you know, I could say Pau Gasol had a deeper, you know, mid-range bag than Shaquille O'Neal. Doesn't mean Pau Gasol is better than Shaquille O'Neal. Doesn't mean he was more efficient than Shaquille O'Neal. If you can't stop my main thing, if I put you on the block and I just get into the rim and I'm shooting 58% from two, and you can't stop that, I don't need all that other stuff, right? And I think a lot.
Neither did Olajuwon, only except he just had it and used it. He didn't need a lot of that other stuff. He just had it and used it, which made him even more effective. I think that's the difference here. I mean, Barkley, again, I mean, they made a rule for Barkley with dribbling the ball 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times because he was holding up the game. Olajuwon wasn't doing that, and that was more effective for the Houston Rockets than it was for Phoenix, for Philadelphia. I think that the edge with Barkley in transition is him with the ball. I will give you that. But Olajuwon was fantastic. I don't think it was that close. I don't think it was that far when we're talking about a transition player. And I clearly don't think about when we're talking about being on the box. I don't think that Elijah, I don't think that Barkley was that much better, because also when you talk about Barkley, I don't think you take into account Barkley was the kind of rebounder who offensive rebound a lot. So he was getting a lot of putbacks. So those buckets that you're talking about, there were a lot of stickbacks. It wasn't just throw the ball into him and him get a bucket. That was more Olajuwon, where we throw the ball into him and we get a bucket.
That's fair. That's fair. But I'm saying, like, in his prime, that was like a point forward. He was a guy who he could handle the ball. It was like LeBron, man. That's the type of athlete he was, in my opinion. He just, if LeBron ballooned up and was 3 inches shorter, that's Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is a generational athlete.
He's what Mars talked about. He's what Mars talked about, where when you saw Ralph Sampson, like, this doesn't make sense. Like, what's going on? I like what I'm seeing, but this fat guy who runs like they're like, what's going on here? This doesn't make sense when I'm watching. That's what
we're not going to see another
Charles Barkley didn't make sense to me either. Yeah, he's another weird one. Shout out to him. Very, very good player. No Hakeem, but very good player.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We're gonna keep it lit. That was actually a good conversation. I love talking about Hakeem, love talking about Charles. These are two guys that I feel like get lost in the sauce, but are definitely all-time greats for real. And we don't talk about them enough. But we go from Hakeem Olajuwon, a historic center. I was drafted number 1 overall. To 1985, somebody who came and changed New York, the whole New York basketball scene altogether. Charles Barkley, or Patrick Ewing.
You got Barkley on your mind.
Thanks, Steve.
Mars, this right here is what you talked about. We talked about earlier about, territorial. I mean, did it help that Georgetown was in the Big East? In the Big East tournament.
I mean, they say this draft was rigged. Yeah, they say this one.
It was.
I'm not here to.
This was the envelope.
The frozen envelope.
Yeah, this one I can see it, but Pat Ewing. I mean, we're gonna do the sentence list tomorrow, and I'm spoiler alert. I'm pretty sure he's probably gonna be there at least in some capacity, whether it's honorable mention or on the list. But I think he's. Accolades wise, I think it's unfortunate in terms of like how many all defensive teams and stuff he racked up because of the time he played in. But like just watching him, I do think he's undoubtedly one of the best centers ever. He was really, 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 really good.
He wasn't a bust. Let's.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like for me, and to bring up Charles Barkley again, I think the conversation is closer with Ewing and Barkley than Hakeem and Barkley. I think Ewing and Barkley are within similar tiers. Personally, that's how I would view them. Barkley, like that's how, separate impacts. Like Ewing is more defense first, offense, scoring second. Barkley is pretty much all offense, all around scoring, playmaking, offensive rebounding, all of those things. But I compare them more similarly. And Ewing is, if he wasn't a black hole, which he was, if he wasn't a black hole,
get off the pail, big fella.
If he wasn't a black hole, I think he could have been a lot better. Now, do I think he would have been the best big in the league? Yeah, probably not. Especially like once he started to slow down with like.
This is yet another one of those didn't win a ring, so we criticize everything bad about him, right? And I'm not saying he didn't have flaws. Patrick Ewing had a lot of flaws. What I'm saying is this black hole stuff.
I think I just praised him.
No, that's fair. But I think a lot of the black hole charges were to Michael Jordan as well. People considered him a black hole for a while. They said, he didn't like to pass to his teammates. They said the same thing about Hakeem.
Absolutely, but Hakeem was a black hole until Rudy T came around.
Yes, but that's my point. Yes. It's like that's what we remember, and that's why I say context matters, right? If Phil Jackson doesn't come around, if Rudy T doesn't come around, like you might not have championships in Chicago and Houston, right? So that's the thing. Like you got to look at Patrick Ewing's career and to the point of Barkley, Ewing. I think Barkley's closer to David Robinson, and I think David Robinson. I would put. Would you put Robinson over Ewing?
Yes. But
okay. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But I'm high on David Robinson. For me, like if I were to do
Robinson's ahead of Barkley?
Yes, if I were to do tiers, for me, how I view them as players, I'm not going to factor in longevity right now because that would be my list for tomorrow. As players, I've got Hakeem as the best of this group. David Robinson is the second best. Barkley and Ewing in that tier 3.
Bro, you dropped yourself right off the screen there. You were like, you got here.
Yeah, because Hakeem's up here. I think David Robinson's a tier below Hakeem. I don't think they're in the same tier. And then I think Ewing and Barkley are a tier below David Robinson. And I don't know who else I'd put in that tier, but those two next to each other I'd put in the same. I don't know who I think is better between Ewing and Barkley because Barkley was bad on defense, man.
What?
Barkley was bad on defense.
This is crazy.
Maybe I watched the wrong
better than
selection
this.
of games.
You're better than this,
Well, I'm meant to think Barkley wasn't bad on defense.
bro. But like, I mean, you cannot outweigh the offensive dynamicism and domination of Charles Barkley.
I'm not outweighing it. I just think as a front court player, particularly in the 90s, having a negative defender can hurt your team. I just think
6'5".
And he plays in the front court. Like, that's part of the issue, I think. I don't give you the extra bonus of like, oh, he's undersized doing this. I'm not doing like, it's great that he was great being undersized. But unfortunately, being undersized made him probably worse on defense than he would have been if he was 6'9". I still don't think he was a great defender. I don't think he was a high effort defender. I think his awareness on defense was actually pretty poor. Like, there was a bunch of things I don't like about him defensively. He's a really good rebounder. But everything else, I'm like, I don't like it. Plus, he's small in an era where everyone's big. It just doesn't stack up for me. And in the front court, in the era where I think defense in the front court was probably more impactful than ever, other than the Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain era, I think that weighs into me. Offensively, all-time great power forward. He might be the best power forward offensively, maybe. I can make the argument. Him, Dirk, number 32. I can have the conversation. He might be the best offensively. But when he's that bad defensively in a time where I think defense might have been more impactful in that position than offense, that holds him back for me. And then if I want to go the air attacks route and talk about what him and the Suns were doing in terms of cheating that illegal defense, we could get into that, but I'm not going to do that because the rules of the game, and they were able to just leverage the rules in a way that benefited them. That was great. But there's a reason Charles Barkley was never on a good playoff defense. Some of it was personnel, and some of it was the fact that he was just a bad defender in a very important defensive position. That doesn't help. And part of that is why they didn't
really study that film of
more than anything, to Mars's point, and more than anything, it was an effort thing because I seen Charles play defense, and when he did rim protect, he could block shots. When he did get in front of, he could absolutely block shots. I've seen him snatch the ball out of the air. I've seen him stop big guys at the rim. I've seen him do that. So more than anything, it wasn't a comprehension thing. It was an effort thing. Why do you think the Bulls lost in 1990? Why do you think the Suns lost in 1993 to the Bulls on that last second shot? Well, the reason why they did, because Charles overran Scotty. That's how Scotty got down to the lane, and he was able to get it to Horace Grant. So now they got to help on Grant. Grant fires it out to Paxson, who's wide open. That all starts with Charles Barkley overrunning that play. That's bad defense. That's not him not being comprehensive and understanding it. That's just him not doing it. Keep Scottie Pippen in front of you. That's bad defense on his part. And he did that a lot throughout the course of his career. So when I'm thinking about him costing his team games, but in addition to on the upside of him costing his team games, he also could block shots. So the two kind of they fight with each other, but I think it was an effort thing more than it was anything with Charles. That's why I have a problem with him as a defender.
All right, well, shout out to Charles and also shout out to Patrick Ewing. He came in the league as a rookie and averaged 20 and 9. Dub Ewing. The very next year in 1986, the Cleveland Cavaliers selected Brad Daugherty out of North Carolina, and he was an All-Stars rookie.
The one non-Hall of Famer, right?
Yep. Yeah. And then the very next year it's unfortunate, Brad. You just got lumped up with these guys. You were a very good player, but you just weren't none of these other guys, especially this next guy. In 1987, the San Antonio Spurs, with the number 1 overall pick out of Navy, got David Robinson, and he came in as a rookie and averaged 24 and 12.
Now, we got robbed, too, by the way. So we didn't get those 2 years from him. And then he got hurt in 97. So then he started to slow down. So we got robbed. We got robbed of some David Robinson. Like if he would have been able to come right out of college in 87 and play immediately, how much more production would we have gotten from him? How much better would he have been?
He'd be viewed more favorably. For me, at his peak, he had a case to be better than Hakeem. Now it died because of the 95 conference finals.
That was a real conversation, Mars. It was.
But he had a case. That
was a real conversation going
on. Maybe the best athlete in the league. Maybe. I'm not saying he was, but maybe.
Malone, Jordan.
No, I'm talking about when Jordan was gone.
Okay, so Jordan's gone. So Malone.
He's gone. Yeah.
So Malone and him. Yeah.
Defensively, he was maybe the best defender in the league. Now Hakeem's there. Ewing was still hanging around. Maybe the best defender in the league. And then offensively, once again, he left a lot for me to be desired offensively. I don't think he was a.
What do you
When
want?
teams-
What did you want from him, Mars? This is.
I
Where,
mean,
this is where the divide
I
comes
think
in
in order
now.
to be an offensive centerpiece, focal point on high level playoff offenses, I think you have to be either an all-time dominant scorer where you can't be slowed down by the extra attention, or you have to be able to leverage your playmaking and scoring to a high enough degree to where teams have to pick and choose their schemes against you, or they can't just send hard doubles, all of those things.
Right.
I don't think Robinson was good enough in either of those departments to be a focal point of an elite playoff offense. So part of that is sometimes he ain't have great personnel around him. Some of it, I think, is he was too upright in his stance in terms of his high center of gravity. So when you did get physical with him and he couldn't use his quickness advantage, he struggled a little bit. Some of it was just slower processing speed in terms of decision making. So I think that just slowed down their offense. And then I think part of that's why his playoff scoring just dropped off a little bit. I don't think there's many who can be the focal point of elite playoff offenses, especially at the big man position. I don't think that's easy. I think you're looking at Kareem, Shaq, Wilt, Jokic. I might be done. Like, there's not many who I think either have been or can be. Now, do I think Embiid can be? Maybe. Were the Knicks an elite playoff offense, or were they an elite playoff defense?
I mean, he was a focal point of their offense, but they weren't.
Yeah, he was I want to clarify.
Yes.
David Robinson was the focal point of their offense, but they were never elite in the playoffs. I think you can be, and I think David Robinson was so good defensively and good enough offensively that a team like the Spurs could have won just on the strength of elite defense, adequate offense. I think that was possible. But if I'm talking about being a focal point of elite playoff offense, at the big man position, particularly the center, I don't think there's many who have done it. And I think there isn't many who are capable of it. I think Embiid may be capable of it. Bill Walton was capable of it. Small sample size of health and stuff. And then other bigs throughout history who maybe were capable of it, but then were so bad defensively that's like you weren't going to win with them anyway. So it's like, but like the few that are capable of it, like I just don't think Dave Robinson was that. I don't think Ewing was that. I'm not sure about Embiid just because of the playmaking issues. And at the 4 position, in terms of leads an elite playoff offense, I don't think KG was capable of that. I think number 32 was Dirk.
He just ran into Jordan.
Elite playoff offense. The Jazz were, for the most part, an elite playoff offense, especially in the late 90s.
Yes, they were.
Dirk, I think, was capable of that. Giannis, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know about Giannis in terms of elite playoff offense with Giannis the focal point.
His ability to pass,
Charles Barkley was... I don't know. I mean, some of it is that he creates so many great looks for shooters, and there's so much variance with open threes, and the Bucks just all of a sudden, every time in the playoffs, just seem to forget how to make open threes. So it's not all of it's on Giannis. I'm like, I can see the world in which this is feasible, but then I'm like, in the half court, there's so many limitations and so many things you have to do. I don't know. I'm not saying no for Giannis, but I'm saying I don't know. And then Barkley, I think yes. And then we're getting to the lower tier of power forwards.
Now I want to rewind really quickly. I know we got to move on, Ron, but I want to rewind really quickly. That David Robinson in the playoffs thing. I mean, he was giving me 24 a game in a slower pace league. In a slower pace league, he was giving me 23, 24 a game. He was giving me 26 a game. David Robinson being able to knock down that mid range and stretch the defense and drag that big man away from the basket. That offense in San Antonio wasn't as conducive as it is today, or even later on when you had more action off the basketball. So it was primarily throw the ball in the 5-0, and we'll get the action from him. Whether he's knocking down a mid range over you, whether he's jabbing and going right to the basket, or even when he's jump hooking. Now I understand, Mars, that there's a logic of him being soft. Right, I can definitely get with that because he got pushed around a little bit. But for the most part, he was a lot tougher than people give him credit for. And in terms of offense, I think he expanded a lot of playoff teams' offenses just off the strength of the athlete that he was and how he was able to get up and down the floor. Now, when the game slowed down, that kind of hampered them. Sure, I can get with that, but he was still damn good. Now, I think the other guys that played off of him, they weren't as efficient as he would like them to be. And I think Barkley is another guy who I think that enhanced him because he's throwing the ball out to Dan Marley. He's getting Danny Ainge wide open looks. He's doing that for him. That's not going on with David Robinson, and it didn't happen until later on when he played with a guy like Tim Duncan. But the idea of him being soft and the idea of him not being able to translate in terms of elite offense, I mean, I think that's a little slight. I think it's slightly disingenuous strictly off the strength that the offense was based primarily on him getting buckets.
Well, I mean,
All right,
that's
y'all.
that's what it
Okay,
enoils. But yeah, we don't have time. For
I know.
it.
I know we got to move on.
Can we
Sorry,
can we talk some more about Rasheed Wallace?
Oh no, you missed it, man. You missed it. We showed Rasheed enough.
We got to get
You
to
missed
2000. We haven't even we're not.
Yeah,
even
we
in
haven't.
the
Even,
90s.
we're at 1989, 87.
No.
We're at 87. We're at 87.
88 now. This is where we are. 88.
88.
Hey, chill.
Yes, sir.
I'm really breaking into this thing, man. I just got an email. So I didn't tell you I had auditioned for this movie role a little bit ago. I didn't get the role I auditioned for, but she hit me back and said she got a role for me. I got to be in Seattle October 3rd.
That's what's up.
Oh,
That's what's up. Yeah.
Movie star Ox.
That's what I'm
Okay,
talking
get it.
about.
Movie
Yes,
star.
sir. All I'm saying, Ox, is when you see me, just act like you know me, fam. That's all I'm saying.
No doubt.
That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, Ron.
Ox, you gonna pull up to Chill with Chill and act like you don't know Chill?
Just act like you know me.
He's too big for Chill with Chill. He a Hollywood movie star.
That's all I'm saying. When you see me, just act like you know me. That's
You better
all.
give Ox his own show. What are we talking about?
This ain't even a
Ox with Ox.
Something.
Nah, hell nah.
All right, y'all.
Yeah,
In
88, I think.
1988,
I think.
the Los Angeles Clippers select, he was an all-star this year, Danny Manning.
Now remember too, guys, and I know we got to keep moving on. Remember that Danny Manning was in that mold of the big guy, but he wasn't David Robinson. He was 6'10", and the Kansas team had won the national championship, and he was viewed as a franchise changer. But the Clippers were a dumpster fire. So give me a break. They were.
Dub Clippers.
Well, Chilltown, speaking of dumpster doo-doo fires, the very next year,
Nice.
Purvis Ellison out of
Ellis-
Louisville
Mhm.
was drafted to the Sacramento Kings. Ouch.
Purvis was awesome in college, though, and he was also in that mold of the big man. Even though I think Sean Elliott should have went before him.
Was he a bust, Chill?
Yes.
I mean, the Kings at that time were just going through some hard times, man.
Mhm.
Even Bill Russell couldn't
At
save
that
him.
time.
But yeah, they had good times in the 2000s. But even Bill Russell couldn't save him. Bill Russell tried coaching the team. Ain't working. Bill Russell can't save you. It's just you're beyond saving at that point. They had
Kenny
guys,
Smith on the plane.
die on their roster. Like it was
Other
it was
players
all-
in that draft are Sean Kemp, Glenn Rice,
Mhm.
Vlade Divac, Tim Hardaway, Mookie Blaylock. That's a crazy draft.
Bill Russell told Kenny Smith to come sit next to him on the plane. Why, coach? Because I don't want you sitting next to them losers. These are the guys on the crew, by the way. That's what's going on in Sacramento.
Shout out to the Kings, man.
L losers. All right,
Garbage.
moving along.
Trash.
1990, the New Jersey Nets. Shout out to New Jersey Nets. Selected Derek Coleman out of Syracuse.
I struggle
Was
with this one,
all-star.
guys. I do. I struggle with this one. I think Derek Coleman underachieved because he was in that mold of Malone, and he was a guy who they were expecting him to be the revolution of what the power forward was. He could handle it. He could shoot it. He could pass. 6'10". He was supposed to be the next evolution of the four-man, and I think Derek might have underachieved. He did play 14 years, but I think he underachieved. He should have been better than what he was. He should have been.
He wasn't on the Pistons the year they won the chip, right? It was the next year.
He wasn't on that
Yeah.
group.
Damn, unfortunate. He was never the same after Shaq blocked him 15 times in a game. Which
He
Chill
did
was
dunk
there.
on Shaq, though. He did dunk on Shaq, though.
And Shaq had 15 blocks. So, I
He did do
mean,
that.
take your victories, I guess.
The next year, the Charlotte Hornets in 1991 selected your favorite granny, Larry Johnson out of UNLV.
That's
He was
Zion,
an all-star
apparently.
as well.
Yeah, that's Zion Williamson, apparently.
I think he's a what if more than he is a bust because his back went out at I think after 96, he started slowing down. Had he been able to stay healthy for a solid 7, 8, 9 years, I think we would have got a lot more from him.
All
Still
right,
pretty,
and-
still really good.
Yeah, he was awesome. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Was he was so he was done by the time you got to the Knicks?
Not done, but he was on the other side.
He
Like,
wasn't.
like-
He wasn't going to give you number one pick
Mm-mm.
stuff. He was.
Right.
Like 98, 99, 2000. It wasn't the same.
All right, fellas. The next year, here we go. We getting into it now. In 1992, the Orlando Magic select
The
quite
Diesel.
simply a GOAT,
Mhm.
Shaquille O'Neal out of LSU. And he came in the NBA and averaged 23, in almost 14.
Yeah.
God damn.
He was cool.
Mm-hmm. He can play a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a bust either.
Me neither.
Solid pick. Yeah,
He turned out all right.
decent.
Mm-hmm.
And this next pick in 1993 was very controversial because, well, it was the Orlando Magic again with the number 1 overall pick. And they traded it, and it happened to be Chris Webber.
Mm-hmm.
They made the right decision trading it. Penny's better.
Yeah, but I asked you this before. I think chill on chill with chill. I mean, I would have loved to see Chris and Shaq play together. You know, at the 4 and the 5. You know, still because Shaq was still running the floor like that. Chris getting out in. I mean, obviously, I think Penny. You know, because I think Penny's better at that point. But I would have loved to see that duo. I think that's.
Of course.
I think we missed out. I think we missed out on something.
Now remember too, Ox, the game wasn't as advanced. Like we see today where we see Joker running the 4-5 pick and roll. Like we didn't see that back then. That could have been something considering how Chris Webber handles. But the game was ran through the big man. Webber played a lot on the box. In addition to Webber playing on the box, Shaq played primarily on the box. So I guess basically we got two guys doing the same thing. Even though Webber can step out and knock down a 15-footer, it still would have been these guys tripping over each other as opposed to getting a primary distributor like Penny Hardaway.
Right. You don't think they could have ran that high-low offense? Really just spam that high-low offense?
I don't think that even though I think it would have worked. But I don't think that Orlando, they saw the vision of that. I think they saw more of Shaq being the primary guy. It wasn't like Tim Duncan and David Robinson where these two guys play off of each other. Nah, they didn't see it like that. We got Jabbar here. So we don't need another power forward clogging up the lane or playing high-low with him. Nah, he needs space to operate. And Chris Webber would have taken up a lot of that space.
I also think you got to think this is a new franchise. So are they really going to be a new franchise and then get into the business of risking something that hasn't really been tried before? And then if it doesn't work out, you look like a clown franchise instead of just going with the combo we know works.
Yeah.
Elite point guards, elite big. We just seen it work 3 years ago with Magic and Kareem. Let's hope. Like that makes more sense than trying this 4 or 5.
I think you're right as far as the mindset and the thought process. I think you're right, but I think Shaq and Chris would have worked out better. I think they would have got it done over there.
If Penny don't get hurt, the Magic would have been.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
They got the better player. He just ended up getting hurt. So,
all right, keeping it pushing. In 1994, the Milwaukee Bucks with the number 1 overall pick select big dog Glenn Robb,
2-time All-Star.
That's when
you think he's better than Larry Johnson? You think he's better than Larry Johnson?
No.
Damn. I think LJ did a little bit more in terms of rebounding, even though Big Dog was a bucket. Holy shit. He averaged 20 a game for his career. He averaged 20 a game for his career. Big Dog was a bucket. But it's not just about buckets, though, in this particular situation. And I also think that we were moving in that direction. So Big Dog, Scottie Pippen, Grant Hill, we were moving, even though it was still a big man league, but we were moving in that direction of the small forward being more like the point forward, that guy being more involved in the offense.
Interesting.
1995, the Golden State Warriors selected Joe Smith.
I know this sounds ridiculous, Mars. I know this sounds ridiculous. Joe Smith was the best player in the country, and it wasn't a question. He was fucking awesome.
I'm not mad. Like, I'm not mad at it. It's just like, unfortunately, I think he's most known for in the NBA being the reason why KG's Minnesota tenure got ruined. That's what I think he's most known for in the league. And I'm not arguing against how good he was at Maryland. I mean, I'm not gonna act like I was watching him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just defer to you. But I'm not gonna dismiss it. I'm not gonna be like he was an unworthy number 1 pick. What I'm gonna say is
he was an unworthy number 1 pick because there's 3 power forwards picked in this draft that were better than him.
Who are those guys?
Who were better than him at the time?
Not at the time.
That's the difference.
It's hard to be like, oh, in hindsight, KG was there.
But
it's hard to do.
That's how we're judging this, right? That's how we're judging this now, right? We have the benefit of hindsight, and with the benefit of hindsight, Antonio McDyess was better. Rasheed was better. Kevin Garnett was better.
Big Country was in that draft too.
He was not.
Yeah,
Big Country was good.
Yeah, respect Big Country.
All right. 1996.
AI.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. Allen Iverson to the Philadelphia 76ers.
Little
He was
known
not a
fact.
bust.
We got to add some little trivia to this. The Toronto Raptors won the draft that year. They were
Yes,
not
they
allowed to
did.
keep it. They
Why
were
not?
not allowed to keep it because
Because of the expansion?
they were
Yeah.
expansion teams, so they were not allowed to keep the pick. I don't know if they would have picked Allen Iverson. I
you think he would've
assume they
taken?
would have picked Allen Iverson though.
Oh, wow.
Of course, they would have picked that.
Hold on. They were an expansion team, so they couldn't keep the pick?
Yeah, so they won
That
the
was
they
a
won the
rule. I know
lottery,
that's- I
and the
know that's
rule
dumb.
was the expansion team cannot have the number one pick, so they moved down to number
Why?
2, and they got Marcus Camby. I don't know,
Do you
man.
think that? So you don't think they would have taken Marcus
Bro,
Camby if they had the number 1 pick?
I don't know, but the Raptors got screwed twice because number 1, they got screwed here, and then number 2, they got screwed the year they won the number 1 overall pick. Finally, 2006. That was the year that the league barred high school players from coming out. And that's the year they would have taken Greg Oden or Kevin Durant or one of those guys. They ended up taking Andrea Bargnani. So I'm just
Imagine
saying,
KD
like
up there in Toronto.
the league, man.
Man, he
wait,
wouldn't have
wait.
been there very long. What are we talking about? He wouldn't have been there very long. He would've
Oh,
left.
you're
Wait,
right.
wait.
Yeah.
So what? So they had what pick did they get that year?
Number 2
What you mean?
Number
What
2.
pick did they get?
in
Hold on,
96. They got
oh,
number 2.
And they picked Marcus Camby.
Camby or
No,
they-
I'm talking about.
You're talking about
what are you
Toronto.
talking
You're talking about
In
Toronto.
06, they had the number 1 pick. They just didn't get the luck of being able to draft a high schooler because the rule changed after Dwight Howard. That's what he's saying. But they took Bargnani with number 1. They had the first pick and got it wrong. But they
No, he
2006
Ox is talking about Ox is talking about in '96. What pick?
No,
did
no,
they
no.
get?
I'm talking about 06. I'm just.
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah,
I thought
they
you
had the
were talking
number
about
1 pick. They just didn't get the luxury of being able to draft a high schooler like other teams did.
Mhm.
Shout out
So
Andre Bargnani.
who was the high schooler they're going to pick in 06?
Greg Oden, apparently.
Greg
Greg
Oden
Oden.
or
Okay.
Kevin Durant.
And so because they had to go next year, they went to.
Mhm.
Okay, got you. Okay.
Shout out to Bargnani then.
96,
I like
possibly the greatest draft of all time.
It was in the conversation. Tim Duncan would have gone number 1 in 96, right?
No, not at that time, Moss. He wasn't considered better than Marcus Camby. He wasn't.
Really?
He was not. Not in 1996. He wasn't.
Interesting.
Marcus Camby. UMass was in the Final Four that year. Marcus Camby was
Shout out Coach Cal.
Marcus Camby was considered the next great big man. Tim Duncan was a year behind him. He wasn't considered better at that point over Tim Duncan. I mean over Marcus Camby.
I heard that as a junior. I heard as a junior that Tim Duncan was considered the best player in the country. I guess where I heard
that
was
too.
not true.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
heard
guess
that
where
too.
I don't know.
But I was a
okay.
child.
That's what
I saw those saw like some specials like that. People just talking really highly of those UMass teams. Who else was on that squad with Marcus Camby?
So they had Lou Rowe. Let's see, they had Dante Bright was on that crew. Dana Dingle was on that crew. I forgot to put the Spanish point guard. He was nice too. I mean, they ended up losing in the Final Four. They ended up losing in the Final Four. But that was during a time when like mid majors weren't going to the national championship. I mean, UMass was in the Atlantic 10. If you wasn't in the Big East, the ACC, the Pac-10, or something like that, then what are you doing? What are these guys doing in the Final Four? So Calipari, he caught a lot of heat for that because, like, where are you getting these guys from? And that's what he was doing. Calipari he got Marcus Camby from Hartford. He got Lou Rowe, who played with the Detroit Pistons. He got him from Jersey, right out from Camden. So he was doing what basically the Running Rebels UNLV head coach. He was doing what he was doing, where he literally was going to the park. Come on. That's what he was doing.
Shout out Calipari, man. Ahead
One of the best recruiters ever, apparently.
Yes, he was literally doing that. And the Atlantic 10 at that time, real quick run, Atlantic 10 at that time was very much like the Big East. When I say it was like the Big East in comparison, like UMass, that was Boston College, George Washington, that was Georgetown, Temple, that was Villanova. So it was very much, it was very similar in terms of proximity. So that's how they compared them.
All right, y'all. The next 3 guys I'm just gonna lump together. They're all very good guys, but we gotta get to every number one draft
That's
pick.
crazy that you're
There.
lumping.
Yeah, Mars, it is kind of nasty, but for time's sake, we gotta do what we gotta do. 1997 was Tim Duncan to the Spurs. 1998 was Michael Olowokandi to the Clippers. In
Shout out
1999, was Elton Brand to the Chicago Bulls.
Played against him in college too. Elton Brand.
Who, Elton?
I mean, not
Or
Elton Brand. I'm
Mike?
sorry, Michael Candy.
Did you win?
UOP.
Did you win?
Yes. They
Oh,
came-
beat another number 1 overall pick. Go, Cho.
They,
Good
came,
work.
they actually had us 20 in a hole in our building. We came back and beat them.
And you made a comeback. See,
Mhm.
chose me 2 number 1 overall picks.
But I will
Well,
say,
see-
Mars, we did go to Pacific like 2 weeks later, and they stomped the shit out of us. They did.
One on one,
They did.
one on one against the number 1 overall pick. Here's what it is.
All right, chat. Here's what I need you guys to do. I need y'all to stop following behind Buddy and trolling and focus. First off, chat, focus. And I need you guys to send an order because we about to go through all these number 1 picks and give them grades. So I need an order. And also I need you guys to like the video. I need you to subscribe if you're not. I need you to become a member. And shout out our Hall of Famers, Kendall Daniels, Hutton Gilgores, Jerry Reality, Arch, Multi-Kenny, and Cobra Son of Raditz. Shout out to all of them. I also need you guys to go check out playerschoicemerch.com. And I need you guys just to keep clearing the same way that you guys clear. All right. Come through with this order, chat. Here we go. DSG Piccolo with the order. He said Penn, Mars, Ox, Chill, Ron. So this is how we're going to do it. All right. 2000 Penn. You have Kenyon Martin. Now we're going to give these guys letter grades. So however you deem, Penn.
Are we doing pluses, minuses? We doing any of that stuff?
If you want to, you could throw that out there.
All right. So 2000, I'm gonna give Kenyon Martin. Damn, I wasn't expecting to go number 1. All right, let's give him.
I lied, Penn, when I said you weren't a number 1 overall pick earlier.
Yeah,
Lied.
yeah.
Nah,
You
maybe-
did.
maybe
You
Rihanna
lied
will
straight to my
plan.
face. All right, I'm gonna give it a B minus.
Mhm.
I'll give it a B minus. Went to the finals, was a really good defender. Maybe didn't have the length of career, didn't always have the health, but I think he was still serviceable in his Denver days. So I'm gonna give it a B minus. And he was a 23-year-old rookie, right? So he was supposed to come out and produce, and he did. And this was not a very strong draft. And I think the best player in this draft was probably, who was it? Mike Miller, Michael Redd,
Kenyon
one of
Martin.
those guys, right?
Oh, Michael
So-
Redd here.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a weak draft, and they made the best with that. So yeah, salute to Kenyon Martin.
All right, Kenyon Martin received a B minus. The next year, we have
Kwame.
to the Washington Wizards. This was quick. Kwame
Brian.
Brown, and it is on you, Mars.
What it is? A through what?
F.
Zed.
It goes A, B, C, D, E, F. Not E. I'm sorry. Not E. It goes A, B, C, D, and F.
I've never understood why E just gets skipped. But
Yeah.
You're gonna give him an E, aren't you?
I think E is very fitting, if I'm being honest. But,
E's, just so you know, E's used to be a grade, but go ahead.
Oh,
I
for
didn't
real?
remute. Back in
Yes.
Chill's day, of course.
You didn't know that, Ox? Yes. They did.
No,
Before his time,
It
before
was
his
E.
time.
It was
Still, how
E's.
Ox know that and he was never in class?
Just so you know, it was E's, which meant excellent. G's, which meant good. F, which meant fair. F, which meant fair. I, which meant incomplete. Yep.
Chill's
That was
way
going on.
too old.
I
We're
saw
on
that too.
EGFI. We're not even on ABC.
The C, that was an S, which was satisfactory.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got
No, I
to
do remember that in like elementary where we had like satisfactory outstanding.
Yeah, we had that.
And, what was
and-
the other one?
And the F today, it was a P for poor. Yes.
Shout out
So
to the
it was
olden
those
days,
E's,
man. Shout out to the
G's.
olden days.
It was E's, G's, S, I's, and P's, which is poor.
That's
Garbage.
Imagine getting a
Trash.
P. I'm gonna give Kwame an F. I'm gonna give Kwame an F.
Mhm.
Damn. Well, Mars, for the sake of what we were just talking about, I'm gonna go ahead and put him on here as a P.
Nice. Push him P.
Poor.
All right. Next we have oh, this is hitting like crap right now.
Mhm.
It's
Yes,
hitting
sir.
like other things. Not
Yes,
really.
sir.
Yao Ming
Mm-hmm.
in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Big Ox.
Except for the fact that the number 9 pick was clearly the best player in this draft. I'm gonna
Who was
go
number 9 in 02?
Stoudemire.
Amari.
Stoudemire.
Oh, yeah, he came out of high school.
Other than that, I mean, yeah, you got it. The injuries derailed, but y'all had a hell of a career.
That was nice.
Yeah, I had
Yao
that-
at his best was
Ooh,
better than
shit.
Amari, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's your opinion. I disagree, but I'm gonna go ahead. I think you got to give Yao at least a B plus. I mean, he only got 8 seasons, you know.
Ox, if you'd have said A-, that wouldn't have bothered me at all. If you'd have said that.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I just, you know, I think Yao was great. I just wish we could have got a little more Yao. That's all.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was pretty good. Yeah.
Yep.
Don't forget
Pretty good.
that the number. I want y'all to also remember that the most underrated player to ever play basketball was drafted in this draft as well. That's Caron Butler. But
Oh, I've never heard you say that.
oh,
Shout
I
out
said
to
that.
Ron.
I've never heard you say that.
Oh.
Either I don't listen to you,
Right. That's
or
what
I've
it
just
is.
never heard it. It's one of them, but
Yeah, that's
I've
what
never
it
heard
is,
you
man.
say that.
You just be tuned. You just
It's
be tuned
wild
out.
saying Caron Butler is the most underrated player if Tayshaun Prince is picked in the same draft and he's better.
Karam, no.
Tayshaun Prince better
But
than
we
Caron Butler.
don't got time to do a Tayshaun Karam, but
No, that's
Oh,
the, that's,
oh,
the
oh,
comparisons,
oh.
that's the comparisons people watch Players' Choice for, man. Tayshaun Prince versus
All I'm
Caron
saying
Butler.
is that Caron's the most underrated player ever. I'm not saying he's better than anybody or worse than anybody. I'm just saying he's completely
Is he more underrated than Scotty?
I think Scotty gets love. It's just trolls that just say nonsense.
all right, here we go. It is on.
You.
Chill.
No, I
That's
think
on you,
it's
chill.
Okay.
03.
In-
Oh, this is easy.
Go ahead, chill. 03. Go ahead.
Oh, this
A
is
plus.
You can't make this type stuff up.
A plus. He's the best player ever. So
Is it a question about this, chill?
No, I don't think so. I think he's.
Are you on the fence? Are you on the fence about this at all, Chip?
No, not at all. I hopped over like what's the dude name? Hancock. Remember he hopped over the prison fence. That's how I hopped over the fence. Just like that. I'm on. Yep. James is A plus. That's easy.
Where was I at last night? Hancock was on TV.
Mm-hmm.
It was, Mars. It took me a second to realize what I was watching, but
Yeah.
All right, y'all. The next pick is Dwight Howard, and it's on me. And I want you guys to know I'm not doing this based off judging Dwight with LeBron, okay? I'm doing this just based off number 1 overall picks and how they panned out.
Mm-hmm.
And Dwight Howard, to me, was an absolute A+ for the Orlando Magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can we take it a step further than that, Ron? He the best player in the history of the Orlando Magic organization. He the best player they ever had. I'll say it. Yep.
I'm just not going to agree. But
Longevity matters.
Mm.
Playing. Now, there's a difference between
how long was he there? 7-8 years?
He showed up in 04, and I think he got traded in 13.
13.
Yeah, got traded in 13.
9
So
years?
9 years he was there. Mhm.
Yeah, give me 4 years of Shaq.
Hey, give me however many years of Penny.
Give me however many. Give me
More
T-Mac.
Penny over Dwight Howard?
Give me T-Mac.
No way. So I think I want to say 2000. Let's say 2000, maybe 8 to 2013. Those 5 years over Penny. What Penny did? No way. And Ox, get out your basketball player. I'm talking about what he did there. Let's not do that. I'm talking about what he did there.
Hey,
Give me T-Mac.
I can make the argument that Dwight Howard was the league MVP in 2011 when Derrick Rose won it.
I think it's only fair to put Dwight as the best player to come through the franchise. Yeah. But I'm not mad at anybody that says Penny, Shaq, or T-Mac.
All right, Penn, it's back on you. And you
Andrew Bogut?
Yes, Andrew Bogut.
Oh, he was so close to getting Bargnani.
I was so close. Y'all better be kind to Andrea Bargnani. Okay, Andrew Bogut, I'm gonna give him a C+, largely because there was just 2 players picked like within the next couple picks next 3 picks that were definitively better, and that's Chris Paul and Deron Williams, right? But Andrew Bogut super slept on, right? Super slept on career. He's an NBA champion, block champion. You know, he made All NBA once. So I think, you know,
He wasn't
overall,
terrible. He wasn't.
he wasn't bad at all. He could stretch the floor a little bit. He was a pretty good passer. He's a really good shot blocker. So, you know, he was a very serviceable role player and the type of player that you would expect to see picked 7th, 6th, 5th in an NBA draft, right? I'm pretty sure if Donovan Clingan turns into Andrew Bogut, no one's going to complain. But the number 1 overall,
Portland would love that.
That'd be nice if he's
that would be
Bogut.
great.
Love that.
That'd be
If he
great.
turned
But
into
when
that.
you got Chris Paul, point guard, Chris Paul, and you got to watch him lob city, you got to watch him become one of the 3-4 greatest point guards of all time. You know, it's tough. And for a while, it was a conversation between Deron Williams and Chris Paul. Like for 3-4 years, it was a real conversation. So
That
I'm
was.
saying, like, yeah, like Andrew Bogut, solid C+.
If he didn't get hurt, do you think he could have been more? I'm not saying Chris Paul, but do you think he could have, like, he was on his way to being something
A
more?
B, he would have been a solid B-.
Okay,
Like, there's just no way that you can make up the gap between him and Chris Paul.
understandable.
Well, shout out Double Bogus getting on this list with the C+. Next, we have Andrea Bargnani. Mars, what grade do you give him?
D.
I think that's fair.
Am I meant to explain why, or I can just say D?
You can if you would like. I think we all kind of like are seeing you eye to eye with this one.
Oh, okay, yeah. If what's understood doesn't need to be explained. Okay, yeah, D. Shout out to him, though. But yeah, D.
All right, moving along. It's Greg Oden, and it's on you, Ox.
Oh, Ron, this is the biggest F. This is the biggest F possible. And you know, it's really unfair because Greg Oden was a beast, and he could, you know, I expected great things for him. But when you got the 2nd pick, Kevin Durant, 3rd pick, Al Horford, 4th pick, Mike Conley, 5th pick, Jeff Green, these guys are still producing in the NBA today.
Oh my God, they're all still in the league.
You know what I'm saying? And then you gotta remember
Thaddeus
too,
Young's still in the league too.
Joakim Noah was in this draft. You know, thanks Penn for shouting out Thad Young. You know what I'm saying? Like, this draft was stacked, and they just made the wrong choice. I mean, that's the story of Portland's franchise. You know, be like that.
It's just too bad, Ox, because it's easy to say that today, considering, like, if you remember what Greg Oden was in 2007 coming out of college,
right?
Like what we thought he was going to be.
Right.
Now, I understand your logic, Mars. The, you know, one leg shorter than the other, the injury history. I thought I was seeing Patrick Ewing 2.0. I did. I thought I saw the evolution of the big man. I did. I did not know Kevin Durant was going to be a scoring machine. I did not know that. Even though he was awesome in college, I did not know that. No.
And I see what somebody said in the chat. Like, you're 100% right about that. I feel the same way. Like, I think they made the right pick. It was just an unlucky pick. So
That's
you know
all.
what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know, yeah. So I don't, you know, sometimes I say it and, you know, don't take it that way. Like, I think they made the right pick. I would have chose Greg Oden over Kevin Durant 15 times out of 10. I think that was the obvious choice. I think Greg Oden was clearly the best player in the country. I think that was so. Don't get me wrong. He was that was the right pick. It was just.
I know what you're looking at.
No, KD was better,
man. With the injury,
that's fine.
I know what you're looking at. But he was dominant. He was a glass cleaner. He looked like the evolution of the big man. Like,
all I heard about KD was that he couldn't bench press 185. That's all I heard about him at the draft. Oh, he can't bench press 185.
That's not why they didn't pick him first, though. That's not why they didn't pick him. It's because he couldn't bench press 185. That's not why they didn't pick him. They picked him because they wanted that monster Greg Oden. Yeah, like, it's that 185 on that bench press had nothing to do with Greg Oden going number 1. Any team with half a brain is picking Greg Oden. If you're seeing what he's doing in college, you know what I'm saying, the way he's terrorizing the rim, you know what I'm saying, like, you have to pick him. If you don't pick him, you deserve to lose your gig.
The moment I hear one of his legs is shorter than the other, I'm not picking him.
Me neither. And it's not like injuries. That was like the first time we ever saw Greg Oden have injuries. And it's also not to say that these are incomparable talents. I'm not saying pick Mike Conley over him. I'm saying pick a guy who dropped nearly 30 points per game at Texas over him. right? And I'm not even saying it like KD is a short dude. He's 6'10".
Yep.
Like, what are we talking about? 6'10" versus 7 feet. Yeah, Greg Oden's a better defender inside. It's the prevalent thought back in the day that you pick the big and then you let it rest, right? That's why Andrew Bogut went number 1. That's why Michael Olowokandi went number 1, right? But that old school thought process, that's not shared by everyone. I think a lot of GMs would have picked KD over him. I don't want to say a lot, but I think there were at least a handful. So the 15 out of 10 thing, I think it was more of a debate than you think. And I remember ESPN at the time saying it was a debate. I made a video at the time saying it was a mistake. So it's not as foregone a conclusion as, okay, Greg Oden number 1, just like Shaq was number 1. The Shaq was no debate. Greg Oden, there was a debate.
Yeah, but Greg Oden was clearly the most dominant player in college. And
we was in a big man era. We were still in a big man era during that time. And don't forget the Miami Heat had just won the NBA championship the year before that in 06, and that was still the formula for winning. And now we got Greg Oden showing up, and the league hadn't translated to this small forward being a bucket getter as good as James was. He had still won an NBA championship, so
something people don't talk
about. That was still the formula at that time.
Is like, what is it that you're dominating because of? At what level, right? Greg Oden, college, that's perfect. That the college game is built for Greg Oden, right? But you look at a guy like KD, you expand the court for a guy with that skill set, you move him up from college to the NBA. Let's not even ignore the fact that he was already really good in college, but you take it to the NBA. I mean, I think his skills translate better to the NBA. And I'm saying that with the benefit of hindsight, but I was saying the same thing at the time as well. It's like you take guys who are doing well in college, and you think because they're doing well in college, like undersized guards do really well in the NCAA. They don't do as well in the NBA. Big men do really well in the NCAA. They don't always do as well, because if you're dominating guys because you're bigger, stronger than them, well, what happens when you go up and that advantage disappears? KD's advantage was clear. He was skilled, he was long, and that wasn't going to change no matter what level of basketball he played at.
But Penn,
so was Greg Oden did he not produce before he was the injuries?
I don't care how you produce. We talked about this with the Hakeem versus a Barkley debate. It's like you can produce different ways, right? Greg Oden was not as skilled, right? He was not as skilled. It's the same conversation as DeAndre Ayton versus Luka Doncic.
No,
he was not as skilled. But
no, he wasn't the bucket getter that KD was. Those two things ain't the same.
But KD was not a non-defender. KD was a really good defender at Texas. He wasn't like
in college.
Greg Oden was the defensive player of the year.
But there was also concerns about KD's frames offensively, and similar to your point about
that was the biggest thing with KD.
But similar to Penn's point about college versus the NBA, there were concerns about how KD's defense would translate to the NBA because of the size.
7'5" wingspan. Why was
it
the
size?
Just like you just said. You just said it yourself. That's college. That's college. This is the NBA.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is KD was dominating because of skill. He wasn't dominating in college because he was bigger and stronger than everybody. He was barely stronger than the guys he was going up against. He was less physically developed than a lot of the guys he was going up against, but he was still managing to score because it was skill. Like with KD, it was always a matter of skill and like where he was releasing the ball. And that's not going to change in the NBA. It's actually only going to get better because you expand the court, you put better players around KD. He was going to get better. I mean,
we can say the same
thing.
Like,
and he grew. So that helped.
Yes, he did. He got taller.
He grew like an inch. But KD at 6'9", still all timer.
Yeah, but what happened? What happened with Greg Oden has nothing to do with how good he was when compared to college in the NBA. It was simply injury. It was simply,
it was the mold too, because like you just mentioned, Ox, him being as dominant as he was, that's what was winning, and that was going to translate to the pro game.
Yeah, it was translating to the pro game.
Yeah, it was
very well, actually, very well. It's just simply injury, nothing else.
Greg
Oden was fit for the NBA. He was built for the NBA, and he was
okay. If Greg Oden stays healthy, does he have a better career than KD? If he stays healthy,
I don't know. I just know that Portland wins a lot more games with Greg Oden.
I don't think if Greg Oden stays fully healthy.
Greg Oden and B. Roy.
I've got to say for the sake of this, I think you got to hope Brandon Roy stays healthy too, because that's how they're going to have success.
Ooh, right.
I don't think Portland's regret not taking Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
I'm not going to say
having this conversation.
Yeah, I'm not going to say is Greg Oden better than KD. because KD one of them ones. But I don't think Portland regret taking Greg Oden.
Even if he had a healthy career, he probably wouldn't still be playing today. You know what I'm saying? Like KD is. You know what I'm saying? A guy that big, that size, he probably would be done by now. But I don't. So I don't. You know what? No, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't.
You think
he probably wouldn't have. He probably wouldn't have as great of a career as Kevin Durant. But I can guarantee the Portland Trailblazers do not regret not picking Kevin Durant if Greg Oden stays healthy for 10 to 12. 13 seasons. You know what I'm saying? Like I think they're very happy with that.
I'm still taking KD number
I
one.
think they're very happy with that pick.
You think it's a Jordan Hakeem situation? Okay.
Yeah,
All right, Charles.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, for sure.
We got to move on. Ox just gave Greg Oden a big fat F.
With all due respect, Greg.
Mars, my apologies. Greg Oden was supposed to be you. So now you get the privilege of taking
give somebody else.
Didn't
I just did Bargnani. I did
Bargnani.
I did Bargnani. Then he did Greg Oden, so it's on Chill.
Chill.
I
was seeing if Chill was paying attention.
You was about to give somebody else. This dude.
Go ahead, Chill. Derek Rose. Go ahead, Chill. Derek Rose.
You need to get your shit together.
Derek Rose gets an incomplete from me.
Wow. Incomplete.
Remember, we didn't give Greg Oden an incomplete.
No, he didn't give Greg.
No. You don't get to run incomplete. No, that's a cop-out. You don't get to run incomplete.
Okay,
you don't get to run an incomplete. So
if we're doing that, even though I think he should have gotten an incomplete, so if we're doing that, he gets a C. And why does he get a C? Because their guys have come back from ACL injuries and been awesome. Derrick Rose, on the other hand, mentally, it screwed with him. And he played 10 more years in the league after he tore up his knee. And he wasn't nearly the same player. And the reason why he wasn't the same player, because mentally, he didn't think he could do the same things that he probably still could do. And it ruined his game. So he gets a C for what he did those previous years.
Damn.
Interesting. I would have rather the incomplete at this point.
Well,
beggars can't be choosers.
It was good while it lasted.
Yep.
All right. Next, we got Blake Griffin. And it's on me. This one's tough. Because it's like if Derek, and I don't want to compare guys, but if Derrick Rose gets a C. Who else was in his draft?
James Harden, Steph Curry.
Oh, no.
Hasheem Thabit.
Hasheem Thabit gets an
Hasheem Thabit was the second pick, so Blake was taken ahead of Hasheem Thabit. A+.
What?
No.
James. Steph.
I mean, at their best, Blake is probably still the third best player out of this class.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them a B. B-.
Ricky Rubio.
Tyreek Evans. Rookie of the year.
It's just unfortunate that it was a top 10 player, potentially a top 10 player in this draft, greatest shooter ever, and then one of the greatest offensive forces ever. Just
Tyreek Evans?
Johnny Flynn.
Shout out Ricky.
Man, Johnny Flynn was one of my favorite players coming out of that draft. Love Johnny Flynn.
I knew Johnny Flynn was going to be a bust.
You said that too.
Oh, you actually said that at the time?
Well, maybe not those words. Just kind of like, why are you tripping off Johnny Flynn?
Yeah, I wasn't big on Johnny Flynn. Now, Brandon Jennings, on the other hand, hey, them Ballers Life mixtapes used to hit once again like crack. I'm talking about straight crack. Hey, I don't got enough time to get into Brandon Jennings and.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they got enough time to get into crack. I was going to say,
Ron,
please don't do that.
Second crack reference.
Don't do that. That's not good.
Yeah, Ron trying to tell us something right now.
Yeah, he got a mean hankering for some of that rock.
That's not what they meant when they said pass the rock.
Diesel, Ron, stay away from that diesel, yo. Don't do that. Don't do that, baby.
John Wall is next.
That's on me?
Yeah.
I'm going to be controversial and just say A-.
That's not controversial.
It's not.
Yeah.
That's about where I expected. That's about where I expected.
I mean, it wasn't the strongest draft. I don't think Paul George was really in the running for, first overall pick. He was the best player in this draft class for sure. DeMarcus Cousins wasn't super healthy, but DeMarcus was a beast. I think, at their peak, you could debate John Wall versus, DeMarcus Cousins, but I still give John Wall a bit of an edge there. So I'm going to say, yeah, A-. And it would have been more had he stayed healthy longer.
Hell yeah.
All right, back to you, Mars. We have Kyrie Irving.
Hey.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty easy. Once again, that's the second straight one, Mars, where it's like we don't really need to explain it.
Yeah, I'm getting some easy ones. I've got Kwame Bargnani.
Did Cleveland get what they paid for when they got Kyrie Irving at the number one overall pick?
Yeah, I think that's what they expected from Kyrie. I genuinely think they got Kyrie and got what they expected as a player.
Ideally, he's more than they expected.
Nah, I don't think so. Ideally, he's healthier, but they got him knowing he wasn't a mess up.
With the benefit of hindsight, would you still take him number one? Or would you take Kawhi?
Kawhi
Jimmy Butler? Klay Thompson?
I take Kawhi. Well, no, because here's my rationale, right? Cleveland's development program, right? I don't trust them to make Kawhi. And they're just going to end up getting some defender out of San Diego State who can't score. And it's like, why would you take him number one? So I think Kyrie was more polished and skilled offensively. So it made more sense for them to take a guy like Kyrie. So even in hindsight, probably take Kyrie because Jimmy Butler, Kawhi, way too raw, unpolished offensively. And Cleveland wouldn't get the most out of them. And Klay Thompson was too one-dimensional.
And on top of that, you don't get James back.
Forget LeBron, man. I don't care about him. He a buck. Give Kyrie the keys. But yeah, Kyrie A. I wish I had Anthony Davis, man.
All right, well, Big Ox.
I got you. I heard it down, Mars. Real quick though, because I should have asked this before because I missed what the criteria was. We're grading the franchise for drafting this person, or are we just grading how this number one pick turned out?
This number one pick.
Okay, great. Yeah, within A+. A+ for Anthony Davis.
I have a question.
For me?
General. Because I have a hard time with the bust term, right? Like this guy's a bust, this guy's not a bust. If you have a player, right, and you draft him with the number one pick, he's just bad for the first 2 years, and then you trade him for really nothing in return, and he turns into a superstar. How is that not a bust? Because you wasted the first overall pick, and another team is getting the benefits of it.
You bust, but if the
player, but I'm saying for you, like that pick was a bust. That's what I'm saying. The pick was a bust.
Like Chauncey Billups, for example.
Yeah, because Chauncey was flying around the league trying to find.
He bounced around.
But like, if I take you number one and you're just trash for my organization, and then you become good somewhere else, for me the pick was a bust. Like if I'm the T-Wolves and I draft someone and they're just great on the Clippers, the pick was a bust for the organization. We all do we agree with that, or is that like?
I think the bust term is about the player.
Okay.
I think it carries around the player because we say Anthony Bennett's a bust. We don't say Cleveland's a bust, right? And
they were wrong for taking him though.
They definitely were.
We're gonna get to Andrew Wiggins because Andrew Wiggins is like the case study for this, in my opinion.
Because Andrew didn't do bad in Minnesota though.
I think he was a bad player. I think he was a negative on the court. But on Golden State, he was clearly impactful. Possibly, but Golden State, he was clearly impactful. I'm like, well, he didn't give that value to the Timberwolves, who actually, the Cavs drafted him technically, but like, I'm like, he didn't give the value to the organization that actually had him, but he gave the value elsewhere.
Right. So it's definitely not a bust for Cleveland because they got K Love for him, right?
Yeah, they got K Love, which in turn got LeBron. Like, yeah,
right. So of all these teams, only Minnesota is the one that lost on Andrew Wiggins.
Yes, is what I'm saying basically. Yeah, so it's like, anyway, 2013. Oh, 2013. Oh, nice.
2013 happens to be the infamous Anthony Bennett pick by the Cleveland
Make a new tier, Ron. Make a new tier.
He can't. This is the public school system.
Chill. What do you?
He was a bust. I think he's the consummate bust. He wasn't ready. He was a freshman coming out of high school, coming out of college in a mid-major league. He wasn't even the best player in that league. and he wasn't ready. And they sold their number 1 overall pick on a guy who Cleveland was in a transition. He couldn't decipher defenses. He couldn't score at a high level. He wasn't as good a rebounder. He was undersized. So for a guy that size, for a guy with that limited skill set at that time, he was not worthy of being a number 1 overall pick. He could not play at that level at that time. He was a bust.
He was so bad.
He just was.
He was
horrible. He was not ready.
We ended up watching him. We ended up watching him.
If you had to guess his career high in field goal percentage, what would you guess?
Field goal percentage?
Yeah, career high.
38.7.
Incorrect.
42.
Damn, Chill's right.
35.
He got to 42. Shout out to him.
42.1%. That's crazy for a guy with that athletic skill. That's insane. He started 4 games in his career. 4 games in his whole career he started. I don't think there's a. They
knew from the moment they got him in summer league he wasn't good.
Absolutely,
they knew.
Did he go play overseas for a little bit or anything?
He wasn't good. He was in the G League. He wasn't good. He played overseas. He wasn't good. He hasn't been good at any level of professional basketball.
Bro, this is the only first overall.
How does that even make sense? That's crazy.
This is the only first overall pick that I can think of that played for 4 different teams in 4 years and went out of the league. I've never seen that before.
2 years ago, he played for Jerusalem. Played 8 games. And,
bro, after a career like this, you got to find God.
He played 8 games and averaged 6 points. He shot 51% from the field, but he averaged 6 points.
He was playing in the Bible Belt League.
He played in the Euro League in 2017. Shot 26% from the field.
Damn.
Garbage.
Averaged 1 point a game in 6 minutes.
Get this dude off the floor, Ron. He killing us. Get him on the floor, yo.
It just hasn't been great for Anthony Bennett. In the G League, he peaked at 18 points again. 2 games. Never mind. He played 2 games. In 2018, he averaged 14 points in the G League on 47% shooting. That's about the best you're gonna get, but it hasn't worked out.
I don't think he wanted to play either. I think that also factored in.
There were some other factors.
Like being bad at
Anthony Bennett getting busy in Jerusalem.
The bad at basketball part, Mars, that compounded it.
Bad at basketball, out of shape. I think
who should they have chosen that year?
Oladipo.
Yeah, like revisionist history.
I'm not saying Giannis. Like I'm not doing that. Oladipo is probably the pick. Oladipo
at that time.
Yeah. Kyrie on Oladipo. Yeah, that probably would.
I liked Otto Porter, man. Shout outs to Otto Porter. Just retired, but like the consummate 3-and-D guy. Really great for the Washington Wizards. Huge impact on winning.
He couldn't stay healthy either, though.
NBA championship with the Warriors. Apparently, the Warriors are just there to rehab the careers of small forwards after they fizzle out at their first stop. It's great.
I don't know how they managed to get him healthy for a whole year. That man wasn't healthy before or after the Warriors. I don't know what they did, but they cheated.
Facts.
All right, y'all. Moving along, we have Andrew Wiggins and Penn. You get your fellow Canadian. Wait. No.
No, I don't.
It's me.
That's you.
Yeah, it's on you.
I get my fellow Canadian.
Great.
Shout out to Otto Porter.
All right, Andrew Wiggins. Oh, damn, this one's tough. He was consensus number 1, but
shouldn't have been. No, Jabari was better than him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like I've gone back and watched that Kansas team, and maybe I'm watching it with the glasses of this is what this guy becomes, because obviously I'm watching it knowing what Embiid became. I think Embiid was the better prospect, but like
he was just
maybe I'm watching that through MVP glasses. Like, oh, I can see, but I'm like defensively he's a monster, and for some reason it seems like he was a better passer in college than he is in the NBA. I don't know what that is about.
Mars, the better prospect was at Duke.
Yeah, but I'm talking about just on that Kansas team. I'm not saying the best player in the country. I'm just saying when I watch that 14 Kansas team, 13, 14 Kansas team, Joel Embiid looks like the better player to me, the better prospect, the better NBA player. Like I'm like, this guy looks better to me. But I don't know. Maybe I'm watching it through MVP glasses, like I said. So I don't know. It is what it is.
I'm gonna give Andrew Wiggins a B. And it's some other guys that was in this draft. We mentioned Joel. Julius Randle happened to be in this draft. Zach LaVine, but Jokic is in large part why they get a B. And Jokic didn't have any shot at the number 1 overall pick. But the fact that he was just in this draft.
Could you imagine if the Cavs took Jokic number 1? You know how much they would get clowns? That'd be so hilarious.
Rightfully so.
Until
He was gonna become what he became, man. He wouldn't want to live in Cleveland. That's trash.
all right,
He'd
next.
be fine with Cleveland.
Nah, they got Tristan Thompson they're building on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Next we have Cat.
It's on me.
Yeah.
You got to give Karl Anthony Towns. I understand people want to troll him, whatever, but there is no one else picked after him that definitively is better. You can make a case for Devin Booker being a better player today, but career value so far, I think Cat's had a reasonably top 15 player in the league type impact, and that's what you expect from a first overall pick. Devin Booker was not eligible, not necessarily in the conversation to be a number 1 overall pick. The only other who was in the conversation, Kristaps Porzingis, D'Angelo Russell,
That was a real conversation.
It was Jaleel versus Karl Anthony Towns, and like honestly, a lot of people talk about like Jaleel Okafor.
Could y'all put some respect on that honey badger?
You talking about Jaleel Okafor?
No.
Frank Kaminsky?
Come on, man. Put some respect on Frank Kaminsky, man.
Jaleel Okafor set the rookie record in the AC. Stop, yo.
No, Jaleel was my dude. I think Jaleel was the better player at the draft. At the draft, I thought Jaleel was going to be number 1. I'm just saying, though. Y'all just don't disrespect Frank Kaminsky.
No, wait, okay, we're not discussing.
Frank was what? 22? He was 22.
Frank the Tank.
So,
that's what they called him.
32, don't matter.
Frank the Tank. That's what they called him. Frank the Tank. No doubt about that. But
Sam Dekker was on that team too, right?
They went to the Final Four. Yeah, they went to the Final Four. Yeah, they had a damn good team. I don't argue
legend,
that.
Shout out Nigel Hayes too. He was on that team as well.
But remember who we talking about. We're talking about Jaleel Okafor, who at that time set the ACC freshman record. No ACC freshman in the history of the ACC averaged 20 and 10 as a freshman. Jaleel Okafor did that.
And
but
what else did Jaleel do?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is like it matters how you dominate, right? If you bigger, and Jaleel was bigger than guys in college, and that advantage goes away, right? I'm just saying when the game speeds up, when the court expands, the number of decisions you have to make per possession is going up. The speed of those decisions has to go up. Jaleel Okafor simply did not process the game quickly enough. Everyone talks about how he phased out because the league went away from centers. Like it's a Roy Hibbert type of situation. It wasn't a Roy Hibbert type of situation. It just wasn't. He couldn't hang mentally.
He wasn't smart.
Cat's a much better player.
His motor was also just
motor is questionable.
That
defense is questionable.
I don't think he wanted to play,
jump shots questionable. Everything's questionable. But it's just like if you talk about a player who puts that type of pressure as a scorer in the post, he should be a great passer because he's creating all sorts of angles with his dominance in the post. But he just couldn't read out of those situations.
I think Cat's game just more fit too for the league than Jaleel's was.
He was also a better defender. He was also a better defender than Jaleel in college, which was
much better defender.
Right.
All right, Mars, you have
Ben Simmons.
That's tough.
What you gonna do with Benjamin, Mars?
See, I'm not gonna lie, because like you got first 3-4 years Ben Simmons. And then you got what we've seen the last 3-4 years. It's like,
but by your logic, the vast majority
what he's all of his value in the NBA he's given to Philly.
Yeah,
and I'm standing on the fact that if I redraft 16, I'm still taking Ben Simmons. I think he was by far and away the best prospect in that draft. I don't even think it was close.
Prospect, yes, but now with the
and I'm saying I'm putting money on it that it won't go this way again. We're running it twice. The first simulation was bad. The second simulation will work. I'm taking Ben Simmons.
Bro,
I'm betting on the upside. I think we just got the low end outcome of Ben Simmons. That's what I think happened.
This is mental.
We got the low end outcome of Ben Simmons, and I'm willing to bet on anything other than this would have been a better situation. I think what's happened. This is the worst outcome for Ben Simmons I saw.
How is playing with Joel Embiid the worst possible outcome? He was on a
in terms of what his career became. This is the worst it possibly could have.
Hold on. We got him with Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, right? Pretty competent organization, really good city in Philly. What are we talking about? This is not a terrible situation. He made it terrible. That's him.
Yeah, but I'm saying this. Everything that's happened I'm not saying it's because of things out of Ben Simmons'
The
control.
bad back, the personality shit, the clashing.
I'm not saying it's because of things outside of Ben Simmons' control. I'm just saying everything that could have gone wrong, whether in his control or out of his control, especially in the last 3 years, I'm willing to bet doesn't happen again in the second simulation of this, and I'm taking him number 1. That's what I'm willing to bet.
Run it back.
For me, he was so far ahead of Brandon Ingram. Any conversations about who the number 1 pick should have been, to me, was stupid. Ben Simmons was so far and away the better player and prospect than Brandon Ingram that I'm willing to bet on the fact that I just think it works out better next time.
Man,
so,
Ben Simmons.
Well, you gave Derrick Rose a C. Like, what am I? C. I can't give him
But Ben Simmons was headed to the Hall of Fame. He was on his way to the Hall of Fame.
I think at his peak, he was a top 2 defender in the NBA.
Some will say we're about to get a resurgence season from Ben Simmons.
We are not.
I still believe. I guess I'm gonna move him up the list when he has a resurgent season.
Let it go, Mars.
But yeah, I'm gonna give him a C.
Let it go, Mars.
So I knew this before it happened. Markelle Fultz. Ron, I tried to tell you.
No. Don't act like Markelle didn't work out solely because he wasn't that good.
Well,
hold on, bro. Hold on.
Wait, so it might not be for that reason, but I want to hear this
because these two dudes is in the Pacific Northwest.
I'm with Ron. I stand with Ron. I don't know what you're going to say. I stand with Ron.
So you can stand wherever you want, Morris. All I'm saying is I didn't know he was going to have an imaginary injury that he couldn't get over. I just didn't think he was going to be that good. I thought he was too slow. Like, bro, what is this? You know, like
he was going to be that good.
Imaginary?
You locked
Ron,
into
what was the
being
conversation,
right.
Ron?
You locked into being right.
Yeah, Morris. Exactly. Like I was right. I got to the same place, maybe not the same route I thought, but still ended up there.
You got to the right destination, but you ain't even mean to get there for real. Like,
facts. And that happens a lot more. Sometimes I just be driving around.
I turned right. I'm like, oh, this is the place. I don't even know how I got here.
Well, shit. Okay, I'm here now.
I mean,
you know.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
He was gonna be. He was.
But my thing is this though. My thing is this. Had they just picked De'Aaron, Joel would be doing so much better right now.
Ron, what was the conversation?
Keep going though.
Ron, what was the conversation?
Lonzo, there's a lot. Well, maybe not Lonzo.
Question, Ron. What was the conversation, Ron, between?
Oh well, yeah, true. But I'm just saying.
Jason Tatum was in that draft.
Tatum. It's a couple more people too. But
a lot of people.
To answer, this was a stacked draft too. But
between you and your man, Ron, what was the conversation between you and him?
Chill, Markelle. In the words of you, Markelle Fultz on a Tuesday was 30-7. On a Tuesday, that's not he averaged 25 and 6. So I'm exaggerating it. But for real, on a Tuesday, like Markelle Fultz is he giving you a 30-piece.
I just didn't see what y'all saw in Markelle.
But they weren't winning. That didn't help.
Yeah, they were. Oh man, I just wish. So here's another thing too. The Huskies. Fun fact: the Huskies overachieved the year before. Well, DeJounte Murray and Marquise Chris, they both came in and they weren't supposed to be that good. They both ended up going lottery. Mm-hmm. No, DeJounte went late.
DeJounte was late.
Yeah, he was late first round, and Marquise Chris went number 4 overall. 8. They both weren't supposed to be that good. They come in, they both go first round. If they stick around and you got Markelle, DeJounte, and Marquise,
they're better.
Things look a little different, and it feels a little different. They probably go to the Sweet 16, something like that. But
that's a crazy projection.
Three first round picks. Wow.
Matisse was on that team too.
Matisse too. Mm-hmm. But either way it goes though, he was playing with dumpster fire, and he ends up just what he was doing with that team. He wasn't supposed to be doing that. So that was my biggest thing is you're doing everything for this team. Passing, scoring, playing defense, scoring on all 3 levels. You're unstoppable. Teams are throwing the kitchen sink at you, trying to stop you, and you're getting whatever you want. That was my biggest thing, Chill. It's hard to average 25 in college.
But they were trash.
Especially in the Pac-10.
No matter how trash you are, it's hard to college is
somebody got to shoot the ball.
Yeah, but he was efficient.
Yeah.
Markelle was another one. I'm not gonna lie, either I have an affinity to Sixers picks or I just keep getting them wrong. But Markelle was another one I believed in. Like, I was so high on Markelle.
Yeah. Well,
and
I mean, he's still
Jason Tatum's
still out here though. You know, he's still
rerun the simulation on Markelle Fultz.
Man, I'm
He's
doing
still-
it.
he just don't regret
I
picking
can't.
Look, well,
I
my
can't
grade
say I'm good at every
for
time.
Markel is obviously a F. But
Yeah, it's understandable. But
obviously
6'5", 7 foot wingspan, shoot the three, shoot off the bounce.
slow as
defensive
molasses.
upside.
And like,
I don't get where you saw he was slow. I just think he played with pace, but he could speed up.
Markel
And he was a
crazy
one-leg
athletic.
jumper too.
Okay, crazy. I don't know what you define as a crazy. But, yeah.
But he
Now
could
you're
get
just
off the
hyping
ground.
shit,
Markel,
right?
Yeah, he
Markel
could.
was no good.
He
No,
could.
but
Yeah.
hold on, Markel was faster than you give him credit for, Ox. On that fast break,
That's what I'm
especially
saying.
at on that fast break, Markel was getting loose.
If you say so.
I
Come
think
and hit you with
he's
an in and
quicker
out,
than-
or
I
come and
think
hit
he's
you with a
quicker.
spin move. Markel was cold on that fast
That's what
break.
I'm saying. Like you two dudes was up there, so that's why I was
See,
wondering
hey,
what the conversation.
chill.
That's why I was
I
wondering
would-
what the conversation was between when that was going on, because I know y'all dudes was up there during that time.
Chill. I was losing it over Markel.
Me
But,
too.
uh,
But from elsewhere. But me too.
All right, 2018, DeAndre Jordan.
Aiton.
Oops.
Who's on?
You all right,
It's
bro?
on chill.
Joe, you better get this
Oh,
one
we
right.
can give DeAndre Jordan a grade though. Right?
A
What was
plus.
DeAndre Jordan, second round pick, right?
A plus.
Number 1 overall pick in the draft. He does not get an A plus. No, he doesn't. No.
No, that was DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Ayton does not get an A
DeAndre
plus.
Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton should be really. Go ahead. Sean.
He gets a C minus.
He in the
because
Derrick
he-
Rose tier?
Yeah, he gets a C minus off the strength that what I saw initially, it was really promising. He looked like he could be a 20-10 guy. And I still think he should be that, but I don't think he's gonna be that. Because I don't think the motor is there. I don't think the effort is there. I don't think the desire to be that is there. And I think he's gonna be an average player for the rest of his career. I don't think at any point is he ever gonna be elite. Never. Derrick Rose was elite, but he got derailed by injury. That's why that short span of time he gets a C, and the rest of it was a long period of time where he just wasn't very good. But DeAndre Ayton, injuries aren't going to slow him down. He's going to slow him down. So I'm good on. I'm
Straight
good
up.
on.
That was generous. That was
Yes,
very generous.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna give him.
I'll give him a C minus.
Y'all don't think he's worthy of a C?
No.
I mean, you not hear my rant about DeAndre Ayton 2 weeks ago?
No, it was on Open Gym.
Bro, he's picked
No,
over
it was
Luca and Shea. What are we talking about here?
And Trey.
Oh,
Young.
I don't care about who he was
And
picked
Trae
over.
Young.
I just don't think he was that good. But
I did.
It has to
I
matter
really
who he's
did.
picked over because it's relative.
it just wasn't a good player. But yeah, I never understood the Luka not going number 1 thing. But maybe that's because I'm speaking from a.
He was a Euro, Mars. It was the Euro thing. If we're gonna be honest about it, let's be honest about it. He was a Euro, and there wasn't a lot of chatter about Luka during that time. He was slow. He wasn't athletic. The league was becoming faster. It was getting bigger. He was a Euro. Euros do have a soft tag to them. It wasn't a lot of hype about Luka, even though Luka was in the Euro League cutting ass.
Bro,
he was doing that.
he won MVP.
Yes,
He was so much
destroying
better
it.
than everyone in that draft. So much better.
He was.
He
so good.
was. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Moving along to Zion Williamson.
Yep.
It's on me. In 2019, the New Orleans Pelicans selected Zion number 1 overall. Zion, I think we can all agree that he is a very good player. But we
Yes.
can also, on the other hand, agree that he hasn't lived up to his expectations due to just not being on the court. We all know that good old term,
That's a
availability is the best
problem.
availability.
Yep.
So, with that being said, I'm going to have to go ahead and give Zion a big fat, no pun intended, P.
Poor.
Well, P's not necessarily for poor,
Oh,
Oh, geez.
my God.
but
We're not doing that.
y'all get what I'm getting at.
Right.
Right.
Did you actually put him?
HVAC?
Wait, did you actually put him in that tier?
He put him in the P tier with Mariah Mills.
Oh, okay, nice. Good tier.
Nice.
Great tier. Wonderful tier. Oh, our host is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Was that his mic drop? He just
guess
dropped the
so.
mic and he dipped?
Ron just be doing this. So
Okay, we got to move on to 2020. Anthony Edwards, is that
it's
on me?
yeah,
That's on
it's
me.
you. Yeah, it's
Okay,
on you.
Anthony Edwards, A. I'm not going A plus. I'm going A. even though I think any rational person would pick him number one, you could have a conversation between Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton. You can.
Oh, in a redraft?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I'll give him an A.
I had LaMelo going into the draft. I remember.
I think a lot of people did. Well, at least he wasn't James Wiseman. But of the rational choices at number one, they picked the right player. So A.
I can agree with. Oh, so
I reserve my A pluses for LeBron's and Wemby's. But yeah. All right.
Oh, okay,
Moving forward.
Both of them
Just go in a circle.
Yeah. So I got Cade.
Damn.
Hasn't been fully healthy for most of his first 3 seasons.
He was healthy last year, Mars.
It's really impacting winning, isn't he?
The year before that, his second season, he wasn't. And in his rook season, he played a lot.
Yeah, I think he's played less than 140 games in 3 years.
Bro,
it's not great.
I don't think he goes top 3 in a redraft.
Mobley, Barnes, and Sengun. That's what you think.
Franz, Mobley, Şengün, Scotty. That's 4, man. He doesn't go top 4 in a redraft. How can you give this guy anything less than a C?
Right.
You're talking about Cade, right?
Yeah. I still think upside wise he is up.
Does he have more upside than Franz? For real?
I mean, me and you just are very far apart on our evaluation of Cade, so I guess
I just think Franz has that defensive upside. I understand Cade is much.
But I think Cade's showed defensive upside as a rookie and his sole year at Oklahoma, even though like it wasn't great, but you could see it in terms of like the size when he was dialed in on the ball, his ability to get through screens and stuff.
In theory,
this past season he just was very bad defensively, so it's like. I don't know. Franz is already a legitimately good defender, so I can see that. But Cade's jump shot coming along in the way it has.
I think Franz is a great defender. I think he's a legit great defender.
Mars, I need you to have that type of optimism for DeJounte too.
Oh, in terms of upside?
The defense, because you've seen it before.
Oh, but I'm not saying Cade's gonna be a good defender next year. I'm just saying Cade has shown that he had upside to do it. I think DeJounte's shown he has upside to do it. He just hasn't done it in 2 years, and I'm not going to bet on it. I'm not betting on Cade as a defender either. I'm just saying he has upside. His upside more for me is offensively. But I gotta give him a C. Hold
on.
To be fair,
that's fair.
We're on Cade. He gave Ant an A. You missed it. Pen gave Ant an A. I'm giving Cade a C. And now we're on to 22, which is Paolo.
I got Paolo,
Yeah,
right?
The person who I wouldn't take number 1 in a redraft.
Because you take Chet?
Yep, absolutely.
I would take Chet too.
Would have took him at the time, and I'm still taking him today.
Either way, you still get an A. Paolo still gets an A.
How does he get an A if the guy behind him is better?
We're in the minority. We're in the minority that think Chet's better.
Well, either way you spin it, that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It's still an A pick. It's still an A draft.
Well, hold on.
You can, like if these two guys are so close, it's still an A draft pick, regardless if you think the guy behind them.
Who's in the B tier right now, Ron?
Honestly, I'm gonna say something real crazy. I would take Jalen Williams over him.
Yeah, well, now I see what's going on here.
Yeah, over Paolo?
Yeah. I'm standing on Chet and Chet alone. I'm going.
I would go with Chet.
Number 2.
I would go with Chet, and I would very strongly consider Jalen Williams. I don't think he finishes well enough, and he doesn't defend well enough. I think Jalen Williams will have a better career.
You do know that in these last 2 seasons, Chet has hands down been the best player in this draft.
Last 2 seasons,
Paolo,
Chet.
You mean
Paolo?
Yeah. My bad, Paulo. Like hands down, it's not.
I disagree with you.
It's Paolo. Hold on, Ron.
Yeah, but
hold on for a second.
Chet last year is better than Paolo has been.
That's what I was about to say. Is Chet hands down? Is Paolo hands down better than Chet last year?
No,
hands down.
What are you talking about, Ron?
He's not.
I mean, I don't think Paolo beat the Franz allegation. So, like, I'm still the best player on the Magic.
I think the Magic
Chet's not the best player on the OKC. Are we? But you guys aren't giving him
that. He also ain't.
Of course. Okay,
But
we're talking about these players.
If Paolo was on the same team as Luka or Shea, he wouldn't be the best player either.
I don't know if Paolo is better than
he wouldn't be the best player in OKC either.
What I'm saying is, I've seen Jalen Williams line up and be really good. I've seen Chet operate as a first-second option and be really good. I'm saying the skill set overall. Like we've talked a lot about two-way players. right? We've talked a lot about how Barkley sucks, so he didn't defend. Well, I'm sorry, man. Paolo he's not a good defender.
See, I told you we're in the minority. A lot of people have Paolo over Chet, which I'm not mad at. I
That's
just
cool.
think
My
Chet's
my thing is,
I
don't
do
matter.
have him right
either
now.
either way.
Keep that same energy for the next
I do
3
have
years.
him right now. That could change. That could very well change. But from what I've seen from Paolo, the playmaker that he is, I didn't realize he was that good of a distributor and a passer. I think his scoring is going to get better. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, Paolo is a lot better than what I thought he was going to be. I don't think the gap is that huge between him, and I don't think the gap is that huge between both him and Chet.
Mhm.
However, that could change. That could very well change. But as of right now, I do have Paolo over Chet today.
So Paolo passed too much. He's a good passer, and I think he falls in love with that. Like Paolo needs to stop passing so much.
They might have
And
said
to
that
the-
to him too,
oh,
Ox, this
and-
year.
Yeah,
Real
he
quick,
like
the
Paolo overpasses.
I mean, development. To the person who said they look drastically different in the playoffs, France and Paolo, a lot of that is skewed by Game 7 where France was horrible. But I say this all the time, small samples of stuff doesn't move
It
me in
doesn't.
a way that it moves other
doesn't.
people.
It
Paolo
doesn't.
had a series where he was making jumpers at a ridiculous clip, finishing at the rim horribly, and making tough shots. I don't think that's sustainable as a viable form of offense. I don't buy into the fact that Paolo is one of the best shot makers in the league. I don't buy into that. So him having a 7-game sample where he was making shots at a ridiculous clip while finishing at the rim horribly and still not being a good defender while having a horrible assist to turnover ratio, which I think is a skewed stat. So I'm not going to hold that in all capacity, but he didn't have the series that I think other people view him as having personally, because I just view it as a lot of unsustainable shot making, which doesn't hold that in the highest regard for me. Franz over the course of that series, I think played pretty well. Game 7 was horrible. Paolo over the course of that series played pretty well. And I'm just saying, I don't think that's proof of too much for me when I'm pretty comfortable with who they both are as players. And Paolo is not the shot maker he's shown to be in that 7-game series. Over the course of his career and over the course of last season, he's not that good of a shot maker. He hasn't been that good of a shot maker. He hasn't been that consistent of a shot maker. Him getting hot at the right time isn't enough for me to change my whole perspective on him. Now, it's great that he had that series and Orlando needed it. Lord knows they needed it. But that's not enough for me to say this is how good he is. Because at the end of the day,
seven playoff games isn't enough for us to say, oh, well, this guy's a playoff dropper.
And if Franz outplayed Paolo, I wouldn't.
This guy can't show up. This guy can't show up in the playoffs and this and that. Like, we can't do that for 7 games. We got to see what happens this year too. But yeah, Paolo gets an A for me, easy A.
And if France played better than Paolo if France played better than Paolo in the playoffs by shot making, I would say the same thing. I don't think that's sustainable. I would say the same thing. Just want to clarify.
All right, y'all. Victor Wembanyama, I think we're all going to agree that he's A and just continue to
A
move
plus.
A plus.
Yes.
Plus.
All right, I'm
A
going to go ahead.
Well, I mean, he can't guard in the post, so
Come on
That's
now.
true. A minus.
Oh yeah, he's not a two-way player. Yeah, you're right.
10 blocks didn't sway you.
Mike got to
10
go.
block
no,
triple double did not sway you.
Mike got to
Yeah,
go.
but no,
There's a difference between guarding in the post and being able to cover the rim. Those two
Okay,
things are not
I
the
want to
same.
say this. The point of all post defense, rim defense, all of it is to deter shots in the most efficient zones. And I have not seen a rookie defer shots in that zone in the paint. Like there's clips of guys just straight up giving up on their drive 20 feet from the basket because they see him maybe going.
Well,
That's
Pin, I was
crazy.
just BSing. I'm trolling Mars.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, I asked that question because of something you said. So whatever. I
Yeah,
guess.
but you know.
yeah, I mean the clip got clipped. So here's what it is. I mean, and I'm the one having to deal with it.
Are we
But it's
grading
cool.
Zachary Risochet?
Nah.
I mean,
He
I'd give
hasn't
it a
played
C.
yet.
I'd give it a C, but it is what it is.
All right, y'all. I got to get to these super chats, then we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. Salute to everybody that's been in here for this whole 3 hours. Like the video. It's been an amazing episode. And also, subscribe and become a member if you haven't. LaFlame said that debate opened a lot of eyes last night. Y'all better get out there and vote for Kamala Fine Ass.
No, that's a U.S. problem. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Could care less who you guys president is.
I mean, having a
me
president
too, Mars.
I'm more of a
Either way,
local
you guys
government
gonna
guy.
be, either way, you guys gonna be complaining about the state of the country. I mean,
I'm not paying much attention to the president. I'm more of a local guy. I care about the senators and the state government more than national government.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the center debate we're gonna have tomorrow than the debate.
Facts. I'm way more concerned about that. Facts.
Yes. That's going to
Key said if Elgin Baylor wins 1 to 2 rings as the lead guy, does his all-time standing change a lot?
For most
Jill?
people, yeah. I mean, that means he's got 2. That means Bill Russell has 2 lesser rings.
Yes. And he beat Bill Russell. Yes. With Jerry West.
Jerry West was always better than him, but other than that, yeah.
Free Homework has been a member for a month. He said, I will never understand Chilltown. You are an accolade stat and a production merchant.
Yes, I am.
There's no way LeBron is better than Kareem based on your logic.
He got a better resume. I won't argue that, sure. But the stuff that James did over the course of it, that's not only all it. That's not only what I care about. I do care about accolades and things like in awards, yes. But that's not only what I care about. I care about what you did, how long you did it, who you did it against, when you did it. I care about all of that stuff. Yes.
Allen Double L. Just like Mars, how you said Wimby's double A. Allen Double L sent through a member's chat. He said, L Mars, he picked Chill last in his college draft.
I had to pick strategically, man. I knew that Chill was going to fall. Yeah. I knew that Chill was going to fall to me because other people weren't locked in. And I was the only person who knew that he beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So,
not just Kareem.
I mean, he beat number 1 overall pick Michael Olowokandi too. So I'm like, guys don't know for real, but I know. So I'm gonna just get him with the seal of the draft. It is what it is.
Shout out Chill, man. Jalil West said Chill also has pictures with D Wade and has been on ESPN.
I think hold on. There it is right here. That's me and D Wade.
What year was that?
That was in Cleveland in 2006. The year they won the NBA championship.
So who was better at basketball at that time?
In 2006?
Yeah, who was better?
Who was the best player in the game in 2000?
Who was better? You or D Wade?
Oh, Wade. He was better than me.
Man, have confidence in yourself, man. You beat Kareem.
I was older. I was much older at that time.
That's not the
right. How can I forget?
Lie.
Sorry, pension show. My fault. Yeah. 18 years ago. That means you must have been about what? 65, something like that?
No, I just turned 60, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Wow.
Drink More Water said of active players that have less than 25K points, but more than 17K, who out of Steph, CP3, DeMar, Dame, Giannis, Paul George, Kyrie, and Anthony Davis, you see reaching that mark. Also, can Booker, Embiid, and Jokic, 12K plus, also reach that mark?
Isn't DeMar already close to that?
Yeah,
DeMar right now is at 23.5.
Yeah,
so
he's right there.
Steph is also at 23.7, so they're both gonna hit it.
Yep.
Dame is about 4,000 away. Giannis is 6,500. He's gonna hit it.
Giannis is for sure getting that.
AD is about 7.3K. I don't know if AD got 7.3K left. I don't know. Kyrie needs about 8K. I don't know if he's gonna get there. Chris Paul's done. He's not getting there. Chris Paul's 2.5K away, but he's not gonna get there. So Steph, DeMar, Dame, Giannis, maybe AD, maybe Kyrie.
DeMar gonna get there really soon.
Devin Booker will for sure get there.
I got D-Book getting there too.
Devin Booker will get there. Jokic 11K. Jokic will probably get there. Issue with Embiid is I don't know how much longer he gonna play. I don't know.
Y'all also got to remember too, like Embiid.
Small fellas.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we got 3 more super chats.
A little older
before
than
we get up out of here.
Yeah, Embiid.
Julius Irvin said Penn can actually talk ball outside of Cade.
I think people gotta stop assuming people don't. People gotta stop assuming people don't know basketball because you may vehemently disagree with an opinion they have. I disagree with Penn about Cade. Absolutely disagree. Disagree as much as one could disagree. That doesn't mean I don't think he knows basketball. I just don't think we agree on that. But I think he explains himself in a way that I can see where he's coming from. We just don't view it the same way. I think Penn does a good job of explaining his perspective. Even if I don't agree with it, it comes from a place that is mostly logical, mostly well thought out. And I can respect that.
I'm gonna hire you as my lawyer if I ever get in trouble.
It was just that opening.
If I don't feel like defending you on that day, you might get a troll in the courtroom. But
You trolling the judge?
50-50.
That was
We'll
just
see-
the
we'll see
first
how it
take
goes.
that everybody got from Penn was the Cade one. That was your
And
first episode, right?
I'm complicit because the fact that I harped on it for like an hour following that didn't help. Like me just bringing up.
I did not like you for like a week straight, but then I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am who I am. Yeah, that didn't
I
help me.
am
Just,
who I am. It's crazy.
I mean, I'm not gonna change, but I know when I'm complicit. I was definitely complicit in some of the stuff towards Penn in terms of me harping on that Vorp stuff for as long as I still use Vorp today, but I think it's fun. W Vorp.
Shout out to Penn for making Vorp an actual thing on Player's Choice.
Of all the legacies
Great
to
stuff.
own, that's great.
That's a great legacy. You brought Vorp to the platform.
Vorp, Arvidas, what else? All right.
And
The career is young.
Cade and Vorp kind of go hand in hand.
Nice.
Duke did it. Said Robert Swift is the homie. Y'all need to chill.
Dub homie. Shout out to Robert Swift, man.
Last but not least, Mo has a question for you, Mars. He said Taylor Swift or Beyonce.
Taylor Swift. We ain't got time. Taylor Swift.
Katy Perry.
Taylor Swift.
Tomorrow.